myself together. Oh, and welcome back to NINJAGOcast. I am your sensei, Wolf.
I'm LJ.
I'm Meso, and I'm not sad.
I'm Sakota.
And I'm Alti.
And today we're going to be talking about the ending of Seabound, ladies and gentlemen. But in order to talk about the ending of Seabound, we have a very deep breath. We have a very special guest with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in NINJAGOcast podcast history, I present to you AJ!
Hiya.
The legendary AJ from Ninjago Reacts. Also
From
known
Ninjago
as
Reacts.
Nia Superfan.
Nia Superfan.
And he is killer.
Right off the bat. Author of the legendary I Want Nia Angst meme.
I wasn't expecting that though.
Yes. I guess the cat's out of the bag, but like, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Yeah, from, the start, if you haven't seen Seabound,
Leave.
I would recommend seeing it, and yeah, you
Leave.
don't want to talk about it. You got about 10 seconds. 10,
I mean, you got less than that now.
8,
The worst is already
7,
known.
It's already
6,
happened.
5,
Wait,
4,
what? Hang on, what?
3, 2,
What dying?
1.
It's the code to like leave. Ulti.
Yeah,
For
leave.
spoilers. If they haven't
Because-
seen stuff.
Because Nia's dead.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I forgot that she died.
I'm sure you did.
I'm trying to at least.
I am ready. Repression.
Please, God, take me back to last Thursday.
What happened last Thursday?
Well,
was
I'll
the
tell you
day
what
before
happened
the
last
finale.
Friday.
Nia was alive and well last Thursday.
Yeah.
And then the weekend whip came along and killed her.
You just jump up, kick back, whip around, and turn into the ocean. And then you jump up and do it again.
You don't do it
Oh
again.
my
That's
God.
the trick. Okay. Sensei. May I start?
Hello?
May I start the
May as well.
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, so basically today we're going to be talking about episodes 7 through 16 because that was the last time we had a podcast and then all of the episodes came out at once. So we're just a little bit behind, just a small bit behind. So we're going to, LJ is going to go through to the best of his ability, kind of a rundown of the episodes, not in like, specifics, but yeah, so LJ, are you ready?
I was ready right up until OBS started not being ready.
Oh no.
It's frozen because yeah, it's just you got to give it a second so I can get the pictures because yeah, there are a lot of them. There we go. Okay, it's cooperating now. Well, yeah. Nope, it's not. Well, we're gonna wing it. That's what we're gonna do.
All right.
Okay.
First episode. Escape from Merlopia. Our episode starts off with the legend of the ninja as they attempt to escape from Merlopia. Merlopian legend Benthamar helps them out. Then they get into a mech, and the mech helps them out. Kalmar is angry. He's from Merlopia too. And he's like, get them. And he chases him to the Hydro Bounty. Lloyd's like, I'm in the mech now. That's why it's titled Lloyd's Mech. Then it gets shot, but it makes it to the Hydro Bounty just in time. The Hydro Bounty escapes with the help of some tiny little robot woos who are also Merlopian legends now. The episode ends with the ninja getting away. That's how we're doing these recaps, by the way. They're all as though Benthamar is telling a story.
Oh, that was
Oh, that
Benthamar.
was Benthamar.
Picture book LJ
Yeah,
edition.
Yeah, you just go a little higher and a little more sad.
A little more like I hate my life and everything in it.
Got it.
Yeah, like
Okay.
my brother.
Now the
tried to
episodes
kill
are-
me.
He's suffering a huge case of depression.
All right, now the episodes are working on the thing, and hopefully it didn't cut out too bad. So,
Bentho is
whoops if
sad
it did.
boy.
All right. Anyway, the Tale of Benthamar. Is that better?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wasn't worse.
Oh, yeah. The Tale of Benthamar starts off with Trimar, but there aren't 3 of him, and his son Kalmar, who was a sociopath from the very beginning. They find me, Benthamar, in a bunch of coral, and it's weird. And then Trimar picks me up, and he's like, mine. And I'm like, happy face. And then I grow up, and Kalmar is a sociopath the entire time, unbeknownst to his father. And that's basically it. I help him find the friggin' temple with Wohira, whichever one. So, whoops. And that's how the episode goes.
Whoops.
Sorry, guys. Anyway,
My bad.
episode
That's
9.
on me, man.
Episode 9, The Storm Amulet. The episode starts off with Kalmar being like, I want to go on a vacation. And his buddy's like, no. But then Kalmar's like, I want to go to the island. And then his buddy's like, okay. And then we go to the island under the sea in the Hydro Bounty. Because guess what? That's what we should have done the whole time. So we make it to the island. And then all of a sudden, the islanders are there. And the keeper with 2 heads goes, 2 heads are better than 1, Jay. And Jay's like, you're right. I'm so glad that was written into the episode so LJ could be right. So then we go to the head keeper and we're like, hey, dude, give us the amulet. And he's like, okay. And then we get the amulet. But Zane's like, it's a fake. And we're like, oh no, who could have done it? Oh, that crazy kooky Clutch Powers, who definitely is going to be responsible for a lot of tragedy later on. So then we're in the Hydro Bounty trying to figure out our next step when my brother, who's adopted, Kalmar, comes in and he's like, no, give me the amulet. And the ninja put on a very convincing display of feigning ignorance. And they're like, no. And Kalmar's like, I heard you, dweebs. I know it's a fake. So he takes it. But then he wrecks the Hydro Bounty, because of course, and then he leaves, and then Nia attacks him. And Nia's like, how dare you? But she can't breathe underwater, which struck me as strange, because I breathe underwater. And then she gets back to the Hydro Bounty, and everyone's sad. But then they reignite their resolve, and that's the end of the episode. Also, OBS is completely frozen now. Like, entirely.
Really?
Like, fully frozen. I don't even know if we're streaming anymore frozen. Okay, it's back.
Is it the original or the sequel? Ha 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 ha.
And this is
I just
how
hope the freeze like
Ninjago...
isn't.
This is how NinJagoCast instigated a coup.
What?
You guys are
Thanks, Alton. All right,
I
well,
just hope the freezing means like it doesn't like chop out bits.
I know. That's my concern. So, that, yeah, we'll see, because it's doing it again. All right, now it's not. Next episode, Riddle of the Sphinx. We're introduced to unknown characters for the very first time. Kai, who seems to control fire, and his dad, whose name I forget. It's Ray. Ray and Kai are goofing around. We've never seen these characters before, when all of a sudden, another expendable character meets our eyes. His name is Cole. Cole is like, hey guys, we got an emergency message from the other crew. We need to go to... Oh gosh, what are they called? The club? What's the club? The Adventurers Club?
Explorers
Club.
Club.
It was close enough. So the Wimp Club is chilling, And Clutch Powers from the movie Clutch Powers is like, hey guys, look, I've got this amulet here. Isn't this crazy? Also, drawings. They're actually pictures of my adventures. And the Explorers Club is like, oh, good show, tally-ho, yes. So, back with the other ninja in, Merlopian legend, they're chilling. And I tell them, because I'm a legend, about Niad, who was the first water master, and how she could summon whales. I tell her no further information because it isn't important at this time. So Nia jumps in the water and starts yelling at the fish. Meanwhile, back at the Explorers Club, a new cast of characters is trying to make their way in, including Misako, who seems like a wonderful mother, Woo, who seems like a grumpy uncle, and the other three who we just met earlier. They talk with the receptionist, and the receptionist is like, only crew members or club members can join and get to things. And then the nice mother lady is like, but the Sphinx thing. And then the guy's like, oh, yes, but if you fail, it is at your own peril. And then a thing jumps out of the ground, and it asks a riddle that I totally remember. Something about, if you give me water, I die, but if you give me air, I live. What am I? So long story short, it's... What?
Colset cake, which is the correct answer, but apparently...
Long story short, it's fire. So then, our new cast of characters, which we hope never to see again, especially not the one in the black robes, whose name is Cole, who should probably be the next to die, they're confronted by my adopted brother, Kalmar.
I'm going to kill you.
And Kalmar is like, give me the amulet, you foolish meddling punks. And Wu's like,
That was pretty good.
Yeah, for as like bad as the other accents this has been, that was pretty decent.
Wow.
So then Wu goes, no. And they fight. Nia yells at more fish and calls whales. End of the episode.
Bro, you crushed
Bro,
this.
where'd Bentho go? Bentho?
Bentho is dead.
Yeah, right.
Long live Bentho.
You crushed his resolve.
When you said the one dressed in black, I didn't think you meant Bentho.
Nah, he has black
Wait,
hair.
no, I'm
He's not-
confused.
He's not dressed in black. Alright, so I'm gonna just assume that the thing is doing the thing, so... Next one. Paper Girl. I don't know what that is, but in Merlopian legend, it's something extravagant now. So the episode starts off by ticking everyone off, by masquerading itself as a filler episode, which people are going to misunderstand the purpose of. So the Paper Gang is back at it again, delivering papers, when a bombshell is dropped. Merlopian legend Antonia is going to quit. And then other Merlopian legend, the Purple Ninja, is like, oh no. So then they go on their paper route with a slew of fun cameos, like Unagami, who tried to destroy the city, and Fuji Buff, who also tried to destroy the city. And no, I think that's just it. Trash Can Guy didn't try to destroy the city. So anyway, they're going through town when all of a sudden, Merlopians, they start attacking the city. Lunch break. Moving on, the ninja continue to fight Kalmar, my adopted brother, in a really cool fight sequence. But then, Merlopian legend Antonia gets a hold of the amulet and runs away. Antics ensue, and Kalmar gets the amulet, but not until after... No, but not before. No, it was before. It was actually before. But before, other Merlopian legend, the Purple Ninja, gives the red one CPR. Merlopian legend Antonia decides not to quit. End of the episode.
I'll tell you why.
I feel like that would be like you go down there and there's like a statue of Antonia down Lupio, and they go back and they're like, who is this?
None of my enemies have ever given me as much trouble as you.
Okay, come on, riff him on that one. Really?
Yeah, to be honest, that was Pretty trash.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next episode. Episode 12. Master of the Sea. Hang on, I gotta turn back and look at my Bionicle collection. Okay, so
That's one use.
in Merlopian legend, the first Spinjitzu master... Oh, wait, this is an actual, Merlopian legend this time. So anyway, what happens is, the first Spinjitzu master comes to Ninjago, and he's like, hey, this is mine now. And then Rojira is like, ah! So the first Spinjitzu master is like, all right, keepers, Merlopians, give me a hand here. So it doesn't work. So then Nian is like, I'm the first master of water, so I'm gonna take him on. It doesn't work. So then Nian is like, I'm gonna merge with the water because that's something I just know how to do and I can figure out instinctively. That won't come back into relevance later. Becomes one with the water and disintegrates. Oops. Anyway, so the first Spinjitzu master's like, so I did none of the work. But I'm going to give you guys both the amulets. Merlopians, you have one. That's not going to be a problem later. And Stormkeepers, Keepers, you have the other. That's not going to be an issue later. And then I'm going to make Spinjitzu Ninjago. And he does. That's the end of that story, but not the episode, because then we meet up with my adopted brother Kalmar at the dock. And then Woo's like, yeah! Antics ensue. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Kalmar gets away with the amulet. So Nia jumps in after him and is like, ah! And she comes back with the amulet. The day is saved. So they all go back to the Temple of Spinjitzu and the monastery. Anyway, and they're showing me around and I'm like, yeah, I like this place. Friends, my entire family is dead or hates me. This is gonna be a joy. So the ninja are chilling, having a good time, talking about where they put the amulet. In a safe place, somewhere called, I don't know, Skybound 2. And in Skybound 2, we have all these kooky characters, like Princess Vanya, who's like, we'll keep it safe. Anyway, the episode ends with it being revealed that it's actually a bootleg, which is a message against bootlegs. The end of the episode.
It's the Lepin amulet.
And that's what I'm calling it from now on. All right. Next episode. Episode 13. There we get the name. The Calm Before the Storm. So episode 13 starts off with some sailors. They're sailing. And then all of a sudden the weather sucks. Which is a very common thing to happen in weather-sucky places. Then Wojira appears. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. And then she leaves. So back at the docks, one of the security guards is slacking by doing some fishing. And he fishes gluten. Gluten's like, is this Ninjago? And it was. Meanwhile, at a local arcade, happy memories are being made before tragedy strikes. And Nia and...
Wow.
Merlopian legends, Nia and Jay are dancing. They've done a lot of dancing. They do so much dancing, and they're having a fun time with it. When all of a sudden, uh-oh, Spaghetti-O, people gotta get called to jail. So they go to the jail, where the police commissioner's like, and Gluten is like, oh my gosh, guys, he's got the real amulet, he awakened Wojira, and he nearly killed me, and then I was like, swim, swim, also was 2 days ago, whoops. So Woo is like, alright, come on, get those submarines ready, Pixel, can you do it in 12 hours? No. So then Wojira appears, and we get more kooky cameos from our favorites, Okino and Gale Gossip. We don't know if they're dead. Then Wojira gets here and is like, I'm going to flood everything. And that's the end of the episode. All right. Next episode. Episode 14. Assault on Ninjago City. This is also where the series peaks. So the episode begins, and we're seeing a bus tour. It's a double-decker bus, which makes me think Britain colonized Ninjago.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And we see the best character in the entire franchise.
That's right, everyone.
Dareth is back. I wish I could play the music so desperately. Dareth
Someone get a
is...
saxophone.
I can't do
Someone grab a
the voice.
saxophone.
Can't do the voice right now. So, the legendary Brown Ninja is chilling on a bus. And he's like, I'm the best in the entire franchise. Nobody's better than me. And then water starts rushing toward the bus. And Merlopian legend and or future king of Merlopia, Dareth the Brown Ninja, kicks into action. He saves the entire bus. He also neglects to grab a hold of the teapot of Turan, but we'll get to that later. But he saves the entire bus single-handedly. Nobody else helps him, especially not Jay or Nia. He didn't need their help because he is the future king of Merlopia, okay? He's the Brown Ninja. He is the best he has ever been, there ever has been, and ever will be, okay? Anyway, so we see a news station report by also Merlopian legend, because she's future queen of Merlopia along with King Dareth, Gale Gossip, trying to tell a story about the storm. And then Wojira makes a cameo appearance. Oh, those sneaky photo bombs. But then the most dangerous item in all of Ninjago appears, the Destiny's Bounty. And they get everyone aboard. Ninja commit to several rescue operations, not including Dareth because he doesn't need them. And Nia takes on Wojira. That's the end of the episode. We're almost to the end, guys.
Almost
We're almost
done.
there, and then
Soon.
we can get to the discussion part. Episode 15. Nyad, 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 nyad. The episode starts off with just so cool fight scenes, like epic action. Nia is fighting Wojira single-handedly. Jay is about to die, confusingly. And the ninja are retreating. Cowards. So they save Jay-ish. Nyad decides to retreat for the time being, as well as the other ninja. I'm losing it, guys. We're almost there. This is the most recaps I've ever done in a row. Okay. So, the ninja retreat using the Destiny's Bounty. So, really nothing of value was lost, because it gets destroyed anyway. The ninja get away to a safekeeping, while Wojira is like, screw this city. So the ninja are recuperating. They're all taking naps, and Jay is like, he's got water in his lungs. Can Nia get the water out? No. Can anyone save him? No. So meanwhile, my adoptive brother Kalmar is like, police commissioner seems important. I'm going to interrogate him. So he goes to do that. Meanwhile, Nyad is like, I'm sorry, Jay. I wish we had more time. I'm gonna go die now. And she jumps in the water and instantly figures out how to merge with the water and become an epic water spirit. And all the other ninja are like, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh no, I don't really know her very well, but she's gonna die. And Nia's like, glub, 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 glub. And Jay's like, Nia. Oh, he's fine now, by the way. So anyway, she takes off. The ninja are like, we will go help her. And the Kalmar, my adopted brother, is like, tell me, police commissioner, where are the ninja? And then he's like, rum, rum, rum. All of a sudden, Wojira's like, and sees Nyan coming to attack. And Nyan is like, I'm here to kill you. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode.
God.
Last episode. Oh, dear goodness. The turn of the tide. Also, the episode starts off with Nyan fighting Wojira and Kalmar, my brother, and it's super cool. And Kalmar's like, what's going on? Poof. And Nia's like, I've come for John Connor. The fight's super cool when all of a sudden, boom, my adopted brother Kalmar blasts her to smithereens. Ha, missed her that time. And Jay's like, goes in to fight him, and it's super cool. And then all the other ninja are doing super cool fighting things. Antics are ensuing. I jump in at one point, and I'm like, brother, adoptive brother. And it's super cool fight. But then all of a sudden, boom, I blow up his fun stick. the stick of controlling Wojira. And then Wojira's like, and eats my adopted brother. And Wojira is no longer under control, which is arguably worse. And then Wojira starts attacking all of the ninja. But then another dragon comes in, and the dragon's like, ah. And Wojira's like, ugh. And they do a super cool dragon battle that somehow manages to be better than the one from the end of Prime Empire. And it's really awesome. And then the blue water dragon gets blown up again. And the ninja are like, oh no! But it lasts for like 5 seconds. So the blue water ninja dragon thing comes back and turns into Nyan. And then she blows up the water amulet, the storm amulet. You know what? Whichever one the Merlopians had. So Wojira's like, ah! And I guess can't handle the other one. And so she explodes. So the episode ends with Nyan not really saying goodbye to anyone. Because she's not the same person anymore. She is water. She is hashtag be water. As the sun breaks across the horizon, Nyan is like, I finally understand how to make cookies. Or something to that effect, I don't know. And she jumps into the water. The ninja is super, super sad. And they're like, man, we should probably hold a funeral and invite all of our friends. And so they do. And the ninja are like, I really hope our friends show up. And their friends show up. Including the worst friggin' character in the entire franchise, the Chima Beaver. Who
Shima Beaver.
evidently cannot actually fix everything.
He's gonna fix it.
And the episode ends with Nyan swimming with the whales. The end.
God's here.
Well done. Well done.
She's not just swimming with the whales. She's sleeping with the fishes.
Oh my god.
She was awake at the time.
You know what I mean, bro.
Pain.
So just to the day before the episodes came up for the finale, I just want to say that Tyler and LJ were 100% on the boat that Nia was not going to die.
No. Meso, specifically. I was not on the boat that Nia was going to die, or that she wasn't. That was all Meso.
Is having a wrong prediction worse than having no prediction? You uncommittal, indecisive.
I didn't know. I had a feeling that this was going to happen. But...
Whatever. Skull.
My prediction was wrong too.
Yeah. Well, let's just say
it's
that
gonna be Maya.
Yeah.
I was very yeah.
We even while we were watching, like I know on my end, I was like, how are they going to fix this? What is going to happen? What's going to be the senior word that? What's going to be the senior word that Jay's going to say to bring Nia back?
Yeah, I was expecting that right up until the credits roll.
Yeah. I was like, when we watched it, I was like, okay, so how much minutes do we have left? Are they gonna turn her back? Oh no, that's not enough time for that.
That was literally how it was. It was like a runtime thing.
Oh no. Oh no.
Wow, Jay's really cutting it close this time.
AJ.
Yeah.
Yes.
You cry.
Yeah.
On the react.
Yeah, I did.
It was an emotional time.
Yeah.
As a Nia fan, are you content with how
someone who caused all of this? What do you?
Oh my god! Didn't cause all this.
Yeah, I'm happy with how it ended, but also like sad. Yeah, like how can I not be? She's gone. She finally gets a season, and they're like, nope, time to say goodbye.
Time to say goodbye. Oh.
But I still enjoyed it though. It was still good.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Like I don't exactly know how to do the structure of this because
I
under
think
normal
the first
circumstances,
thing we should talk about is just Nia
yeah.
in the scope of this and in the scope of the entire
because
series.
under normal circumstances we would go through chronologically
Yeah.
and I have tons of stuff I can say about each episode, but it's all kind of overshadowed by really freaking good ending.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
god tier ending.
Nya, 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 nya.
Possibly one of the best
So-
finales.
So yeah, let's talk a bit about Nia, because it's really interesting thinking that, the series started back in 2009, and Nia was introduced only as a motivation for Kai to become a
Hold
ninja.
on. 2009?
And,
Concepts
well,
were
the concept
2009.
in 2009,
okay.
2010.
Fair
That's when she wasn't even in the original pitch for Ninjago. She was literally created as a motivation for Kai.
Yep.
And now here she is with probably one of the most I don't even say it's well written because it wasn't on purpose. Like, her arc in the series is just phenomenal.
Good
And it
writing can
comes
be
to a-
accidental.
Mhm.
Like,
I mean,
It's absolutely fantastic writing.
are we sure it wasn't on purpose?
Well, like I said, Nia was not. This was not her destiny. I would say, like, in 2018.
well,
Huh?
let's clarify real fast. Writing and being planned from the start, they're not mutually
Yeah.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Most writers adapt to a degree. Do you think they started out the MCU knowing that Tony Stark was gonna, spoiler alert, was gonna sacrifice himself to stop Thanos? No. But they
Yeah.
did plan for that over the course of their movies.
Mhm.
Nia has undergone a similar arc, but it's been in steps and stages. And you're very right. I guarantee they didn't have Ojira planned before like a year ago, maybe
Yeah.
2 years ago. So, I think I'm amazed by how well across the show her arc has a narrative through line. People have said in the past, Nia doesn't have good writing, and I disagree. I think that she has never had good focus because of marketing, but she's always had very good writing. And I don't know, they were able to culminate everything.
Mhm.
It directly links back to Skybound, and I don't think that
That-
was by
yeah.
coincidence.
I don't,
It's
I don't
it
think it's
directly-
completely coincidence.
I think they
So-
definitely pulled the themes from Skybound and
Yeah.
brought them full
that she
circle.
gets to choose her own destiny, and she wants to define herself rather than have other people define her.
Yep.
So it's truly remarkable. And the big question, especially for people who really care about Nia, like AJ does, is this: are you happy with how her conclusion?
Are you happy
After
with what
everything
you
we
did?
did, are you happy? Are you satisfied? Is probably the better word. Are you satisfied?
Yeah,
with
satisfied is a good word.
this- mhm,
Yeah.
with the
It's okay to be
conclusion?
sad, but
Mhm.
that is
So,
the big thing.
I ask you this now, AJ. Are you
I-
Are you satisfied?
I already beat you.
I am very satisfied. Yeah.
Will you ever be satisfied?
I was
Oh my god.
I'll never be satisfied.
Yeah.
But
I don't. Okay.
You don't okay?
Clarification number one. I don't okay. I was don't okay on that episode. No. Thing number one to clarify. I think just to establish a baseline for discussion. She's not dead. Plenty of people are going along the line of so does this even count? I think it does. I think it does count, but it is important to establish that Nia is not dead. She does still exist. But what they did was very smart, because they were able to get all of the dramatic value of a sacrificial death by changing her irrevocably to the point where I don't even know how much of her personality is still in there. Like, clearly some is, but
Yeah.
she's an other. She does not relate to the people. She's transcended. So she can't be a member of their team. She can't hang out with them. She can't relate to them. And in a way, that's almost even a more interesting way to do it than just outright killing her would be, because she's still around in the world, and I'm 100% sure we will see her again in some capacity. But it will not be. Yeah, literally, they're fighting someone, and then suddenly the elements arise to defend them. Something like that. But it's great because you have all the stakes of a death without actually brutally killing someone, which they're probably not allowed to do. It was freaking genius. Everything about how it was done was basically like ticking the check boxes of what I would want to see in a situation like this, and they milked it for as much dramatic value as they possibly could, with the exception of maybe Kai, who didn't really get to say much.
Yeah, for 11 minutes, they did a really good job. Like, imagine if this was a 22-minute episode, and like her sacrifice was at the 11-minute mark, or like her jumping off was at the 11-minute mark, and you had another 11 minutes for the ninja to kind of like, So.
I think I want to address the kind of... So, these last few episodes were really, 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 really good. And I don't really want to talk about them individually as much as I want to talk about them kind of as a general whole, because there's a lot to discuss with all of them individually. Like, we can do Ninjago casts on every single 2 episodes, Like, even episode 7, The Escape, and how we keep on riffing on the C-Mech, Lloyd's mech, for never getting that shoulder knocked off. Or the episode about Benthamar's backstory and how he helped find Wojira. As far as Nia is concerned, this kind of encapsulates the last 3-ish episodes. I do feel like, so this is where I'm going to come in with some nitpicks, because unfortunately nothing is perfect. I feel like the circumstances behind her eventual departure were a little... I'm going to say convenient. Because she ends up merging with the water, something we've never seen her try or attempt or do anything with before.
True.
She does it pretty much word go.
True.
Which is more times than Cole had for Burst. She succeeds.
That's a good point.
She does it because Jay is about to die. And Jay is only about to die because he was trapped in his cool car underwater, partially drowned, because he didn't wear a scuba diving suit. A scuba diving suit of which we have seen a design for him in sets. With the set images got revealed very recently. They're no longer leaks. We're not talking about them today, but we know he has a design for a scuba suit. The other ninja that do have designs in the show for scuba suits were not wearing them during the final battle, where most of Ninjago City was water. So in that regard, a lot of that feels very convenient.
Contrived, convenient.
Yeah, contrived, convenient. And so
the fact that they would bring out the scuba vehicles, but not their scuba suits, which they already wore earlier. It's like...
There's also the other detail of Jay Nia needing to go Niad mode because for some reason the water inside of Jay won't listen to her unless she does.
That's the other thing too. I don't understand that either, because she had not been shown having issues with controlling water. In fact, she took on Wojira with water. It was glowy, and she was jumping on it, and it was awesome. Really good stuff. So I'm not quite sure. The show does not explain that enough.
Yeah.
They didn't explain it at all.
It could just be that it's in someone else's body and she can't control water inside bodies.
I drew the narrative through line. Like, I just kind of assumed this. They never said a word to clarify it. So let's get that straight. But this was my assumption. Because it was Wojira water, she couldn't control it.
But
otherwise, she could essentially turn the entirety of the city into a weapon, and friggin' smack people around with it. But she didn't do that.
So my counter to that is it isn't Wojira water. It's seawater.
All of able to merge with it.
All of it is seawater. And so if she can merge with it, what tangibly is the difference between seawater and water Nia creates? We've
Like I just
seen
said,
her,
I think
she controls both.
the reason I would give it is because it's in someone else's body. I don't know if she can control
Yep.
water inside of a body and it could like hurt him.
What
But
they said in the scene,
You,
like, Ruth, like it doesn't listen to her. For me, that sounds more like it's something messing with her powers than it's like she can't do it in other people's bodies. It
Yeah.
it sounds more
saying?
like it's
The
to her
last time
powers.
we heard the terminology of water not listening to Nia was in Ice chapter where she was trying to control ice.
Yeah.
yeah,
So is the water inside of him in some kind of like weird state where it's
Maybe.
not in her control?
I mean, also her emotions could be getting in the way, where she's getting so emotional that she can't control it.
And that'd
And
be
it's like-
fine.
Were you saying something, AJ? Did you have a theory?
No.
As a resident Nia fan?
I don't know. I mean, like, the line of thinking that Haley has was something that I had as well. I was like, oh, maybe it's just, you know.
I think my
like,
problem's like with that line.
Yeah.
It could work. All the things that were just said could work. It does bug me that they didn't say any of them.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
my whole
I-
issue.
I agree.
Like I'm
For
sure
something so important, usually I would write it off as a nitpick, but it's the linchpin for the finale.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not a nitpick. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the deal.
It just I feel
And
like the way the episodes go, because this whole concept of her merging with water is a very new one. It is very, very new. And interestingly, I don't. Who was it told to again? Who heard
Benthamar.
that story?
Benthamar.
Well, no.
Everyone in the
Benthamar,
Seabound crew.
Benthamar told it.
Yeah.
He told it to the people in the Hydra
And
bounty.
Maya heard about it.
So Nia,
the
Maya,
Hydra Bounty, that's
Lloyd.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
Wu didn't know about it. Okay,
Yeah, we
Fair
did
enough.
not know about it.
um,
Wu, Kai, and Cole did not know about it.
got it. So,
Put
So-
another point in the Wu is useless category.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
makes
thi-
sense for Wu because he doesn't know anything about Masters of Water. So
Yeah.
this is
Well,
all new for him.
It's an interesting thing to explore, right? Because so Maya knew the story of Niad, and she named Nia after Niad, obviously.
Mhm.
Which means Maya would also know about the Wojira story. Whether she believed it or not, the two are intrinsically linked.
I think
So it bugs me that Wu also wouldn't have heard about it.
I think
I don't-
Maya just talked about like Niad being the first master of water and being able to control sea life.
Yeah, and right on
She didn't
those.
talk anything about turning into water and Wojira, if I remember correctly.
yeah, but
But the
Yeah.
Niad story is intrinsically linked to Wojira. One does not
Well-
exist
well,
without the other.
It's like if you name your
Maybe.
like people don't name their kids after things without knowing like the entire backstory behind that name. It's
Well,
just like, oh, Niad was the first master of water. I'll name my kid Nia. It's like, oh,
I don't know.
John was the first master of,
John.
no
I
one
don't-
asked that question.
Maybe there was. I forget what she said exactly. It's kind of the thing still recurring from the beginning of the season. I don't believe that the Wojira stuff would have faded from the collective consciousness so much if it was as big a deal as it was, and people still at least had like a tangential knowledge of it.
It's from before Ninjago was even a thing.
Exactly.
I mean, the first Benjutsu master could have kept the Nia legend alive without mentioning the sacrifice that she made.
Yeah.
Like, this was the first master of water, and then just leave it there. And therefore, he would control history. He would control what people know about this person.
Well, yeah.
And then Benthamar would fill in the rest of the details because he's like, yeah, well, she's the one that sacrificed herself. And Maya's like, she did what now? So,
It fits with the amulets not being common knowledge either.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's a big problem, personally. I
Yeah.
think the not controlling the water in Jay's lung is, though.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely like the core.
hmm I mean,
But again,
what
I
they
could
would
totally
all do is
accept
if he-
it.
If he pulls on his helmet and he's just like, oh no, there's no oxygen left. Or I have like just a tiny bit of oxygen and he sits in the car like waiting for a rescue. But
Or his suit is broken, because My issue is
Definitely.
the show leaves open questions that are very easily worked
Yeah.
around.
Just one line of dialogue of him like taking his oxygen tank and saying it's empty, and
Yeah.
then you're good. Yeah.
Empty or broken or something.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, even the car like not having the thing open, like I believe that that's a possibility because the car, like Pixel said, like these aren't going to be ready for another 4 days, and yet they still needed to use it. So sure that there's going to malfunction. Like it's even though it got crushed, I totally believe that it can malfunction. So
yeah. So I think that's my greatest issue overall. And aside from that, which again can be very easily like rectified. Aside from that, this finale was phenomenal. The way they handled Nia's departure from the crew, I think, was really well done, and it hits in a very different way than Zane's did back in Rebooted. Because I remember, like, we were just floored by that. Floored by what happened to Zane. But of course, like, 5 minutes after it happened, he's back. And of course we're used to that. We're used to that, especially with LEGO content. But with Nia, they have done something one step further, which is something that we have been asking for a long time. It is a irreparable change to the status quo. I'm so happy about that. I think they did a really wonderful job with how it was handled. The scene really hit well. It was just great. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Minor tangent. I just want to clarify. I went back and listened. I was wrong about the Maya thing. She deliberately referenced a children's story called Niad and the Whales.
Yeah.
A very specific, select tale that was
Yeah.
literally a adapted story for children, which is why she did not believe it was real. So yes, there you go. Important to clarify. But yes, between the two sacrifices, Zane's will always be important for the theme and for them being willing to do something like that so early on, but it kind of got blown out of the water, to use relevant terminology. This is great.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just the modern the modern iteration. We've come so far over the years that this pushes the boundaries again, like Saints did at the time, but we're now at a different starting point. And that's why I liked it so much.
And what makes it so devastating, I think, is, you know, the last time we really got to see Nia as she was is like when she hopped off the roof and turned around and like mouthed "I love you" to the door. Because then after that, her entire personality is like weird, and you know, like it's like her personality and like Niad and the ocean like merged with her, and there's just so much going on inside of her that Jay is the only one that can kind of like pull her back just by like being present or saying something, and it kind of like captures her for a second, but then she's just like I think, you know, LJ said it very well, she's transcended them, and that's what really makes it devastating, is that, you know, we want that moment of like saying goodbye to her, but by the time that we realize what was happening, it already passed. So
And she still shines through though with the cookie line. You can still kind of see she's in there, but there's nothing you can do, and that's super interesting dynamic.
Don't leave
A part of me wanted to hate that they brought back the cookie line and actually made it a narrative through line, but they took the part of it that wasn't as cringy, and I'm glad about that. They tell my mom I was right. I like chewy cookies after. So it works. It works. It's a good connection.
That's why I was talking with Purple before this, and that's the same line that Cole told to Jay when she was captured in the second season, and that's so, you know, he got, you know, pissed off. He was like, "You're making jokes." Nia's captured and you're making jokes. Is that just the way the cookie crumbles? So
I can't say enough. I've complained about Ninjago not having stakes for years. They did it. She's gone. I love Nia. She's probably in like my top 3 favorite characters. Please, God, do not bring her back. If the next season is let's save Nia and let's find a way to reverse it, and then they reverse it, I'm gonna like go insane. I'm gonna lose my mind. Please don't.
Bring Nia back. Bring Nia back.
Stop. Ulti, you're a force of chaos.
Here's
I
the
want
thing.
no. I've got it perfectly figured out, right? And you're gonna love this.
Oh,
Nia RX.
yeah.
Oh my god.
No.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's great. It
I kind of
fills all
expected
boxes.
that they're gonna bring her back in some way. I wouldn't have a huge problem with it. I just wanted to have like permanent, like consequences on the team.
Yeah.
If she comes back, there will no
that-
longer be permanent consequences.
Yeah.
On the team.
I was gonna say that's my next question is, Nia being gone and her, conclusion being here. There's two ninja that comes to mind that are going to be incredibly affected by this, and that's of course Jay and Kai. Jay, of course, we got to see a little bit of it, but Kai was oddly silent in the finale, which of course could be in character if they talk a bit about it. He could be like so numb to the fact that this just happened, and he can't really think straight, and he doesn't have any of the fire left inside of him, that he's just like in shock. Meanwhile, Jay, he's either going to be the same way or he's going to like be called to action as he usually does whenever Nia something happens to her. So
yeah,
that's the big question.
This could be the opportunity, because the reason I've said they need to call the cast, it's not because any of the characters are inherently like awful. They're all fun to watch. They're all enjoyable. There's just so many of them. They cut in on each other's personality. They cut in on each other's development. Nia would not have been the one I would have chosen to get rid of.
He's definitely not.
No.
I just want to make that clear. I'm kind of baffled, but like I get it narratively why it works in the story they wanted to tell. But of all the characters, not Wu, not Kai, not Cole, not Lloyd, Nia. Okay, fine. She's gone. What they need to do now, they need to utilize the shrunken team size and utilize the springboard of grief that this story could provide and actually give Kai an arc, which he hasn't had since Hands of Time. So let me rephrase. Let's give Kai a good arc that he hasn't had since Tournament of Elements, and even then, barely. Like, this is a perfect time to show his grief and maybe change him a bit. So he doesn't bleed into Lloyd and Cole as much, and then we'll be golden.
Just to remind you guys of the gravity of this is a great line that I thought of, and this is actually what I told my mom to kind of convince her this was a big deal. The same monastery that Kai trained in to save his sister all those years ago is the same monastery he had her funeral in.
Sad.
Ouch.
So
that's pretty, yeah.
That's pretty messed up. That's kind of crazy. So it's he's not gonna take this well, and we have to wait a whole year.
Yeah. If it was like if this had come out in summer, it wouldn't be long until things would start appearing, and we might know if she was coming back or not. But,
no, I guess the one blessing is in this, and this is what happened with March of the Oni, of course, that we got, so one ninja will fall and whatnot. We're like, oh my gosh, Cole's gonna die. And then we got the sets for the next wave. We're like, but he's there. He's alive. If we had gotten the leaks for the sets for next wave and Nia was nowhere to be seen before Seabound had finished, it would have the potential to ruin the finale. Which
what
I guess
I'm saying is, like, if we'd gotten them and she was there.
And if she was there, then it would
ruin the finale.
also ruin the finale.
That would be great.
So going in blind was, I think it's, a good blessing to go in blind at times. So.
You mean no leaks? No heads up?
No leaks.
Really?
That's Nia's job.
No finding out about things before we see them? No watching?
I know, right?
No reading episode descriptions before the episodes are watched?
I feel like she'll be back soon,
Yeah, that's right. You dodged that ulti. I was directed at you.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's just hard to tell if I'm still in denial that she, bit the big one, or if, I don't know. I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
So
don't like that. I want to know. I don't want to not know.
so, but yeah, it's they did it.
Yeah.
They did it, y'all.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed, at least now. I don't think they're gonna bring her back, at least not in the way that we suspect. Just like, hey guys, I can control it now. How's it going?
That is that's my nightmare.
I don't expect a return to the status quo in the slightest, but I do think in the theoretical where she came back, she might be like when Cole was a ghost for ages, and they just released like her and whatever robes are for that season, but she has a trans blue head instead.
I don't know. I'm not sure I see that either.
I'm gonna steadfast stick to the she doesn't need to come back in any capacity besides a Deus Ex Machina cameo kind of a role.
Or a sense of closure for the other two. Like just
the lack of closure is the poetic element of the story. Yeah. If you give them closure, you rob it of its emotional impact.
They would have to fight for closure. Like they would have to. Like,
I wish we had more time. Gets more time. It's different.
Yeah.
Death doesn't give you more time. It's sudden.
Well, I was referring more to Kai. I think if any of them needs a little bit of closure, it'll probably be Kai. Just to like to talk with her like on the dock or something. So
yeah, I'm curious as to what someone like Jay will do next season.
Yeah, I guess that can be my next question. What do you think's gonna happen next, y'all? Like, if hopefully this is not going to be Ice Chapter to Prime Empire where Zane is like an evil overlord for like a couple decades and then just shrugs it off. Like I don't think they're gonna shrug this one off. So in terms of Kai and Jay, do we have any predictions about what they're gonna do?
Well, I have a big theory.
Okay.
About Jay. Now, I don't know if you remember this little season called Skybound. Wasn't very good. Many Ninjago lore aficionados argue that it might not have actually happened at all.
Oh my gosh.
There's a character in it called Nadakon. You might not remember him either.
What does Nadakon do?
He's like some floating bloke.
Ice cream flavor.
He's an ice cream flavor.
Yeah. Who can can grant you 3 wishes.
I was more of a fan of Sorbentine myself, but
I mean Sorbentine was pretty good.
Say that again. He can do what?
Oh, he can grant you 3 wishes.
And who knows about Nauticon?
Jay. And also the owner of the Dairy Dragon.
And what have we seen in Ninjago like every single season up until like even in like the finale era, like the finale episodes?
Well, it's funny you ask that, Haley. It's the Teapot of Tyran. Which, for those of you who are uneducated, is where Nauticon lives.
Oh my god. So, hold on. Weren't there rules Nauticon had?
Probably not.
Wish for love.
Probably not important.
You cannot wish for love, you cannot wish for death, and you cannot wish for more wishes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
after just watching Skybound literally last night, as well as the pirate crew shorts, which I don't know as to their full canonicity. I think it's
they're not canon.
They're not canon. Okay, well, even in the actual show, Nauticon can just do whatever. Like he has straight up magic.
Yeah. Well, even if he couldn't restore death, Nia isn't dead.
All he has to do is like give her body back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, will Nauticon do that?
He has the monkey. What bothers me about it is, so the whole gimmick is the monkey's paw thing, where it's like, okay, so it'll give you the wish, but it won't be exactly what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except there are instances in the show and in Skybound where he gives them exactly what they want, and there's no negative downside whatsoever.
No monkey's paw.
Yeah.
No monkey's paw. They're very uncommon, but they do happen. And it happens when someone phrases it in a particularly intelligent way, or when he just has no mutual benefit towards tricking them. He'll just do it.
Or if
Which
he's
I'm-
doused in the older venom.
Yeah.
So if he could be coerced or whatever to be helpful,
Yeah.
he might.
Well, again, for those of you unacquainted with the season Skybound, he does have a mutual benefit to bringing Nia back. And that's that Nia looks like his long-dead girlfriend.
Yep.
Not anymore,
So-
though.
That's true.
Yes,
Well-
and that's why he
Well, we
might
also
grant the
don't
wish.
we also don't want to repeat history. So
No.
the idea,
Especially
another idea with this, and I think this would be a really interesting way to bring him back into the story and to also tie into what we've already seen in the story, is Jay, as you said, Ulti, be like, oh my gosh, Nauticon can grant wishes. And he goes after like the teapot. He's like, I have to find the teapot. I have to find the teapot. He finds the teapot and it's empty.
And clutch powers.
And Nauticon he's already out. He's already free. He's somewhere in Ninjago. We don't know where the heck he is.
Owner of the
But-
Dairy Dragon.
Oh my god.
I mean, with how often the teapot has been shown, I would be legitimately shocked if he wasn't already out by this point.
Yeah.
That isn't even a plot
But
twist. The
it's-
plot twist would
plot
be him
twist is-
still being in the land. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way.
Well, I mean, the plot twist is that he's doing stuff. Like he's already like
Yeah,
he
he's
probably
around.
remembers the wish, so he's planning on like his revenge to the ninja, which leads me to my TED talk where pull the screen down. Nauticon is most likely the Vengestone buyer.
What? Why?
Yeah. What is Vengestone?
He knows about Vengestone because he had Vengestone in his ship.
Yep.
He knows that Vengestone
That's true.
stopped the ninja,
Oh.
and he probably hates the ninja a lot. So he probably has a plan. Like he's probably spent the last few years, remembering the episodes of Skybound and plotting his way of what he's going to do when he gets free. And I'm sure Vengestone is a part of it. So that's my theory. I'm putting it down here. Nauticon is going to be the Vengestone buyer. I don't know how he's going to get the money for it, but he grants wishes, so he just needs someone. He just needs.
Also, he's a
Do we-
pirate. Also,
do we
he
know-
owns an ice cream business.
I was about to say, like, we associate Nauticon with being like this magical, dude, and we say all the usual stuff we discussed with him are to do with wishes. But like you just said, the most important thing to remember, he's a pirate.
Yeah.
He's a
probably
pirate
good.
just as much as he is a genie. He could
Also,
have
the
stolen stuff to then like pawn off. He could be like completely wealthy at this point.
the
he could have a
revenue from
crew
the
doing,
Dairy
like,
Dragon
heists.
might also be funding it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that could be it.
Do we know for how
No,
long they've
funniest
been?
thing is they walk into Dairy Dragon and hear, "What would you wish today?"
Yeah, like, what ice cream would you wish to have? Sorbentine. And once you've ordered 3 Sorbentines, you're done for. You're gone.
You wish it all away.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't Sorbentine. Would you like to wish it all away? That's how he gets you.
Well, yeah, this time he wouldn't have the sword.
Yeah.
He doesn't get
Yeah.
the sword this time.
Do
So-
we know for how long they've been mining Vengestone in Shintaro? If like the timeline.
They were
worked out.
very cagey about those details. He
Yeah.
didn't say how long ago the Vengestone buyer was relevant. He just
Because
said,
when the Upli were first there, do we know if they were already mining Vengestone? We don't know,
I don't
right?
know. I mean, they already had the huge palace and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the least, it's enough for 3 trucks full. There you go. There's your time frame. Enough to mine 3 trucks full of Vengestone into blocks.
So regardless, if they want another Nauticon season where Nauticon's the main villain or it's part of it, I think the smartest way to reintroduce him to the story is that Jay goes after him and realizes he's already free. And he's like somewhere in Ninjago. And then he has to go to the ninja and like, so let me tell y'all a story about how Nia died the first time.
Which I don't know why he hasn't
I just
already.
don't know.
Because
I think they,
like,
they
stupid.
have to know by now.
They have.
They've
There's a
seen the
mural.
Yeah.
I just don't like. I don't know. I don't know if people like will even want another Nauticon season. Like AJ, if they said tomorrow like Nauticon was like the main villain of the next season, like again, would you be down for that, or would you be like, isn't this repetitive?
I don't know. Like,
The same.
because I like Nauticon, and I think that like him coming back, like especially with the way things have gone, and like the teapot keeps like coming back, it just makes sense for him to kind of come back at this point. But like also, yeah, why is he back again?
Well, it's
Is
just
there
it's
no one
difficult
else?
for me to think about that. Exactly. Number one, there are other people more relevant to the world that are out there that I would rather see as we move towards like a culmination. Tommy's like, oh, this is the conclusion. Sorry, the conclusion of this arc. It's like chapter story. Garmadon, where's he at? But
He's
number
still
two.
around.
Number two, my problem with Nauticon, because don't get me wrong, I would love to see him again. He's my favorite villain. But it's difficult for me and my mental image to figure out what a Nauticon season would be without his crew. And I don't know if his crew would be involved because we're counting Dark Island as canon, and I forget the status of his crew. Are they like in prison? Or like where are they?
They were marooned in different realms.
Well, I know that.
Did they
But
take them back to the realms? I don't think.
Yeah, like after Dark Island, did they throw them back where they were?
Oh,
Or they
right.
Cryptarium, or
something.
They might be in Cryptarium.
so like
I don't know.
it's one of those things, especially like just after watching it. Nauticon is his crew, his dynamic with the crew. That is like the whole thing. That's the appeal.
I mean, but remember, Nauticon
Like
is
they're not
Nauticon is
henchmen,
different.
basically. It's not like Garmadon and the Skulkin. It's like there is a crew partner dynamic there. It's where half the character fun comes from.
If Nauticon remembers Skybound, I think you can go without the crew, because at the end of Skybound, he pretty much
got rid
didn't
of it.
care about his crew anymore. So,
I mean,
if
and
you
also,
just
I don't
remember the end,
I don't know if Nauticon is even going to be the main villain. He might just be like
the
a
setup.
catalyst for the setup.
Yeah.
For it.
Well, what I mean is not. I should rephrase. Character-wise, he is not his crew. As a viewer, I can't really separate Nauticon from his crew. In the same way, to use a Bionicle analogy, I can't really separate Zactan from the Paraka. Like they're a unit. They're a unit of characters. They're not like the boss and then the henchman. Like
What if he makes this a new crew? Like he
That
just
would be
gets
cool.
like he gets like Fuji buff and
God.
and
Echo Zane.
he gets all of them together. And
Ronin.
He's like, you don't have my old crew, but you are like
the cringe.
you're like the worst of the
I call it ultraviolet.
and ultraviolet. Yeah, he's like I don't have my old crew, but you'll do.
Okay, that could be pretty funny. Never mind.
I
I'm totally
mean,
down.
maybe Misdemeanor was added to fill out the crew.
Yeah.
Or we put the mechanic away for life. We need a replacement stat.
Anywho, we can probably stop talking so much about Nauticon and back about Seabound, but that is just an interesting, I think that'd be kind of interesting if Jay, because it makes sense thematically. It makes sense for Jay to do that. And what the heck could happen if Nauticon like grants too many wishes and like a lot of bad stuff can happen. He's very powerful. We didn't even see him at his most powerful. We only got a glimpse of it. So,
This is a good season.
Yeah.
Overall, I think this was definitely one of the most solid seasons. I think as a whole, it introduced a lot of interesting world building. It did a lot of exploration into the past. It did a lot of explanation to interesting powers. It also helped kind of drop hints for future interesting powers and situations. It's set up a lot for a lot of fantastic potential. I'm not sure I'm ready to say it is the best season. I still really, really do love Skybound. I just think that the pacing on Skybound is really, really good. And I think that Skybound overall is a really it's just a really solid season. But this is easily, in my opinion, top 5. No doubt about it. Maybe even top 3.
Here's the thing about
top
Sky.
3.
Well, first of all, AJ, were you saying something?
I was just gonna say, I think that Seabound, at least in terms of like since the soft reboot, it's the best season, at least to me. Like out of the seasons we've had since.
It is better than Master of the Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For me
like
too.
it's just like I love Master of the Mountain. Don't get me wrong, but like Seabound just kind of took it over. Like
I
it's
will.
the best season. I'm so sorry.
I know.
You're crushing her.
I'm
Like
like,
I killed now, Haley.
I'm like, I'm reluctant to agree because they're tied for me. Because I'm like, oh, Nia sacrifice. Oh, Cole fight with 2 swords. Oh, good like back stuff. Oh, the upley. It's like they balance each other out, and I just can't choose which one is better.
That's the thing.
Reasons why
I
there's 2 very reasons. Number 1, the villain. If I didn't like Skulls, Skull Sorcerer would be like bottom tier Ninjago villain. He's
Yeah.
literally just an evil guy. That's it.
okay, but
He's
that,
very like
Yeah.
Calamar has a lot more like gravitas. He's not exactly morally gray, but you can't deny he has more personality.
He's more
He has more
theatric.
screen
Oh, yeah.
presence. He's got a lot more thematic relevancy. He's not just some guy. He's tied into the culture of this of this
Yeah.
world.
But they also took time in Master
Calamar
of
is
the
great.
Mountain to flush out, Murtessa and the Chancellor, which are 2 also really, really great characters who at time were kind of antagonists for like.
They
a
are
couple of
2
minutes,
characters.
but they are 2 characters, and
I hesitate to say really good.
they're 2 really good characters.
I don't exactly. I couldn't remember their names if you hadn't just said that. And then the number 2 reason why Seabound is better is Nia versus Cole, because Cole was awesome in Master of the Mountain. Don't get me wrong; he had a lot of really cool moments. He did not have an arc. His big conclusion was just beating the bad guy.
okay. No,
Um,
So
Mhm.
I've
The
historically.
thing about his mother was referenced once.
It was referenced more than once.
It was
Yeah.
not referenced more than once. There was the flashback.
There were 2 flashbacks, and they talked about it with the Geckles. So it was
Okay,
more
look,
than once.
The character, though, I will stand up to tyrants like you. I'm gonna honor, my mother's dying words. Like, it was just like, we're gonna plop this down in the middle of the season, and then we're gonna bring it back up later, and he's just gonna do the thing. Cole didn't struggle. He didn't reflect on his mother's
He did
legacy.
struggle. He did.
He didn't go
You mentioned it earlier.
Did in the
oh, am I truly good enough to do this?
Yes.
It's
Yo,
like all
he
this
got
stuff.
the entire second half of the episode, Masters Never Quit, was him struggling with living up to his mother's legacy.
Wrong. It
Because
was
he
him
couldn't-
struggling to do the burst.
And therefore not living up to being like, yeah, his
And
mom did, and so can you, Cole?
and you know what the ending result of that conflict was? Wu was just like, do it. And then a few
he
episodes
said
later,
burst. He
and then
said-
a few episodes later, Cole did it.
He said, burst or not, we need to go save your friends.
I mean, if that's your criticism, it's the same thing in Seabound with talking to the whales and turning
Yeah.
into water.
But you
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
it was
Yep.
paced a lot better. It came up a lot more. It came up
no.
multiple
Well,
times through the
no.
show.
Yeah.
She
No.
never actually struggles
was
to do the
forced.
thing.
So
She only struggled to talk to the
First
whales
of all,
once.
why are you saying no? Functionally, mathematically, you cannot tell me that Nia did not have more of that than Cole did. You would be
Functionally,
factually wrong.
mathematically, I can tell you Master of the Mountain was paced better.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a better paced season.
How do you figure?
So
How was it paced better?
I might. Well, how do you figure Seabound was paced better?
Functionally, mathematically, it was paced better. Props for being cheeky, but
Okay,
reflects on your
sure.
words.
Prove that then. You're saying this, mathematically show us how it was paced. Okay, I'm not a Cole fan by any stretch of the imagination. I think I've been fairly clear on this and pretty consistent. Master of the Mountain is better than Seabound in just a few slight ways, but they matter. For starters, Cole gains more than Nia does in this season. Like, Cole actually gains a fleshing out of his character and an example of his character in a substantial way. Nia doesn't
How was he fleshed out?
Well, first of all, it's an actual proper fleshing out of backstory. We actually learn more about Cole and his motivations as a character from a very fundamental basis. We actually get an explanation, like an actual look at his past and where that comes from. That is important.
I don't know. I seem to recall getting everything I got from Master of the Mountain in the one Sons of Garmadon flashback. His mother died, he was sad, he was aimless about it, he found Wu and became a hero as a result of that.
Yeah, but getting that does not mean that getting what we did in Master of the Mountain was redundant. Because it was not. It really wasn't. Like, there's, oh, my mother is dead, and then there's actually showing the mother and showing a proper interaction between the two. Very different things. So we actually get a proper understanding of Cole as a character probably for the first time. Like, I understand the argument that he's been shown to be a certain way. He's always been this consistent character. But now we actually have a background for it. We have a basis for it. Nia has always been a really good character. Nia has always been fleshed out and progressing. In this, we never really got a difference there. There wasn't a you say there wasn't a character arc for Cole. There sure as heck wasn't for Nia. Like, period. Like, what did she do? How did she grow? How did she change?
Do you really, LJ, do you want to stick to there wasn't a character arc for Nia? Think carefully, because I'm not going to let this go if you have one chance to change that.
Is it sacrifice?
Her arc is tied to her mom, and her mom also had an arc similar to her. Like, that's like they're really, really good.
Yeah. You can say she didn't have a good character arc.
But she had a little bit of an arc because she changed her mind about what her mom and whatnot. Other than that, she didn't really have an arc beyond that point. But it's interesting because Cole and Nia are kind of similar, and like when it comes to Master of the Mountain and Seabound, they come to an end where they have to like have this tremendous amount of power and focus and whatnot to do this specific like thing. Only one of them, like Nia's, like hits harder because it ended up
irreparably changing her.
Yeah, killing her as we know.
It hit harder because the arc manifested in consequence. Cole's arc had no consequence because there was no change.
It had payoff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't about changing Cole. It was about testing Cole. Yeah. And helping him realize that his inherent power is inherent. Because the entire season they spend like trying to find the swords of deliverance and being like, hey, you know what? These swords are really going to help us out because they're magical. And then it's like, oh wait, no, it's not the swords. Never mind.
Right, and you're right, but I just want to make clear because terminology is important. An arc means transformation. For a character to have had an arc, they must be different at the ending than they are at the start. I don't see any difference in Cole when he shows up on the island. Nothing in Master of the Mountain changed him in any way. He's still making food jokes. His personality is identical. He hasn't gone through any change. Ergo, he did not have an arc. He had character spotlight because he was isolated from the ninja, so we got to see how he was interacting in a leader role with new people. But yeah, he did not have an arc. To say he did is
fair enough.
Wrong.
I don't see that necessarily as a negative then, but
that's fair. That's fair.
And that's why it's so hard for me to choose one before the other, because it's a quote unquote fan service to Cole fans. They're like, check out the boxes. Is Cole a good leader? Yes, we saw it play. Cole's backstory. Yes, we saw it happen. Cole having good jokes and having a quote unquote maybe love interest or a good friend that he only has in his own crew. Check. Absolutely. He has his big power up moment where he like figures out that the power is within him. Check. And those, like, for someone who like has loved Cole since the very beginning, that all feels really, really good.
It was good spotlight. It was very good.
Spotlight,
literally
you see a
checks
little
all
bit
the
of change.
boxes.
It checks the boxes of being a Cole fan, and you're like, I feel good. And then Nia comes along with this season, and it does the same thing. It checks all the boxes for being a Nia fan, including stuff with Jay, which I think is very important.
The benefits to the Nia thing that make it better
is that she's gone at the end.
The benefits to the Nia thing that make it better are the consequence and the continuity.
Yeah.
The fact that it does build off prior seasons, the fact that it continues her journey, the fact that it pays off on long-standing character relationships, like with Jay. It all culminates to a very satisfying, okay, it feels like the show was building to this, even though really they just ad-libbed it in the last 2 years. ... But because I am fair, I must play devil's advocate here, and I will point out the one thing that I really don't like about Seabound is Jaya.
Oh, okay.
Because
what?
So
Wait, what?
I'm not done making points, but continue.
That's fine. Mine's quick, I promise. It's so when they did the cold open in the last 4 episodes, right? And it was like, oh, we're gonna have this scene where like Jaya is dancing. It hit me that was the first time, maybe with the exception of that one scene where like Jay sat down at the table and like held her hand, but she wasn't exactly like reciprocative there. It was the first time they had really felt like a couple for the last like 2 seasons.
I don't know.
And it feels like they only threw it in to like remind people, oh hey, they're a couple.
What do you mean?
Did
you forget about
Prime Empire?
I said last 2 seasons, counting this one in Master of the Mountain.
That's not the last 2 seasons.
That's not
the
last
season.
No.
So like they had like a few lines in the
Also
island.
also in Master of the Mountain, the whole she has to fight in an arena for Jay.
Yeah.
I recall criticizing how she was very disinterested in not wanting to fight for Jay. Not exactly what I consider.
Literally, yeah. Are you betrothed? Yes, he is to me. Literally a quote from Master of the Mountain.
There's also the whole battery thing in this season.
Yeah.
So
and there's a few moments where like where Jay like you could just see either in the character, I mean maybe not in lines, but in character animation of like Jay and Nia being kind of close to each other. Like there's one time he goes up to like grab onto her or hold onto her, and she like pushes him away, and that's like you don't see other characters doing that. You don't see like Kai and Cole doing that. But
I would say again, she pushes him away. There's been this dialogue for the last few seasons, and I know because we've had it time and time again about like why hasn't Nia said I love you to Jay, and it was like why hasn't she said this? We've talked about it ad nauseum, and I remember we were having like debates about it, like oh maybe they're gonna do a thing where like they break them up, which is funny in hindsight. Or whatever, like maybe there's a reason why she hasn't said I love you to Jay. You in particular were always like, I wonder if there's a reason.
There's a reason, yeah.
But in the end, there wasn't. In the end, the reason was they wanted to save it for a dramatic moment, I guess. But in the end, I guess really the crux of my point is all these weird things, literally ever since the soft reboot has started, all these like weird Jaya moments where she doesn't seem into it. The end result was, no, she actually totally was the whole time, and she actually did love him, and now she's dead.
I feel like that's in character. I feel like it was about admitting it for her. She always wants to be, she wants to make her own destiny, make her own decisions, and that's what this was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And then she realized that the decision she had to make was for Jay, so I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I don't think there's a contradiction there.
It's not a contradiction, but it's the one point, it's the only thing I agree with you about being weirdly paced.
Okay.
Like you say, Seabound has bad pacing, this is the only thing. And the fact that it's what you just described, Sakota, is literally Skybound, makes me like, wasn't it Skybound again, though?
In Skybound?
The whole, I want to make my own decisions, but then I need to make my decision, and it ends up being for Jay. Wasn't that the exact same plot? I just watched it last night. It's the exact same plot.
I mean, yeah.
It kind of
one
is, but
thing-
it doesn't get to the same point.
One thing that I mentioned to AJ, and this is something I probably have to do research about and like look back into, is the thesis of Nia never actually truly loved Jay the way that Jay loved Nia. And she just didn't have the heart to tell him that. There's a lot of signs of it. There's the thing that happened in Rebooted. There's the
Perfect
thing that
match
happened at the beginning of
compatibility.
Skybound. There's like, you know, a little other things that Jay, I mean, we always focus on Jay being like super into it. And Nia is just kind of there for the ride and whatnot. Now, of course, things changed after Skybound and whatnot. But then there's also the thing that Jay says, I love you, Nia. And she's never said it back. And then when she finally, it comes to this big dramatic moment, she couldn't even say it. She mouthed it.
Wow. No. She definitely said it. We just didn't
She
hear
just-
it because of the. It was a thematic,
Yeah.
it was a cinematic choice.
Are you sure?
She did, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
I feel like you're really reaching on this. You're really reaching. I think the conclusion ultimately is just they're not good at writing Jaya moments. Maybe that's my pessimistic outlook, but that's
think
kind
it
of
is.
the crux of my whole point.
They are
They're-
they're paid to write action, not romance.
I think, well,
They
I
don't do it,
I
and then they only do it in big moments. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's fine that it wasn't a cookie cutter. Oh yeah, no, they're all hunky dory, picture perfect. I don't think that's necessarily an issue.
Yeah. And I also feel like it's reducing it to she did never say I love you is a bit like, I don't know. I feel like it works with Nia's character. She's more guarded than Jay is. He's more open. I feel like if they just throw it in because we have to, that would be out of character and weird.
Yeah.
I think the whole I call this movie Electric Jaya thing, like with where Sakota said that she's very guarded, I think that was a way of showing like that she has kind of dropped her guard as the season went on.
That was what I took it to be, but I just didn't feel like there was enough lead in for it. It just kind of came out. That's a good Tommy quote. Moner posted in the chat. Someone asked on Twitter back in August, why hasn't Nia ever said I love you to Jay? Tommy's response was, I guess she doesn't express herself in that way. She didn't have the easiest of childhoods.
And in the episode before that, she literally resolves that childhood.
Yep, and then she said it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So I don't fully subscribe to the logic of like, we must buy into this super couple and we must leverage the super couple for dramatic, effect, but also buy into the idea that she never really loved him at all. Or like not in the same way. I'm afraid I don't buy into that.
Yeah, I never really read that she doesn't love him back.
Yeah.
She actively chooses him over Cole in Rebooted, or whatever season that was.
We still don't know why.
The thing is, she didn't. Well, the interesting thing is she didn't choose anyone. Cole backed out.
Well, I don't remember the early seasons that well, so it probably happened in Skybound, to be honest.
She definitely made a choice. We just... I mean,
she hacked Cole after Zane died.
She made a choice.
What color wire did she cut?
But I mean, like, it's interesting because she never, like, they were still fighting over her up, like, through tournament elements.
I'm not convinced.
Why is that Cole backed out?
I'm not convinced that ever since that happened in Rebooted, Jay and Nia were ever together again. I kind of think they weren't together. Because especially with how Skybound starts and the whole, like, never gonna happen thing, the implication isn't that they, like, just broke up. The implication is that they are not together and haven't been for a long time and there's no interest there. Which is very odd still in hindsight, but I digress. That's kind of a tangent. AJ, thank you for starting all this. You launched us into this. What do you feel about Jaya?
Do you mean in the context of Seabound or just in general?
Or the context of Seabound. Do you think it was okay?
I mean, I like them as a pair, so like, I'm a bit biased. I'm just happy with whatever. But I definitely think Mia's definitely not the kind of person to just kind of, be as outwardly affectionate as Jay. Like, there's people that just kind of don't show love through that way. They have different ways of doing it, And so Yeah, I don't know.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Elge, what were you building to?
I mean, I had other points, namely, can a season really be defined purely by how it ends? Like, I mean,
No.
it definitely exactly. It affects it, certainly, but we have to go look back at the rest of the season. What have we been complaining about the entire time Seabound has been airing outside of its schedule?
The armor shell on the mech.
Well,
Yes.
yeah,
That has been the most reoccurring.
that's true.
thing.
The fact
the
that
island.
it is held back by the island.
Yeah.
It is held back by the island, and bringing it back to Master of the Mountain versus Seabound. What holds back Master of the Mountain?
That's a fair point.
Seabound is
it's all about...
it is inherently dragged down by the island, which was a kind of a shallow, early attempt at setting up Seabound, which at the end of the day didn't really have a huge effect. Like, it wasn't an essential story.
It kind of is because of the fake amulet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
point.
suppose.
You have to see it. It's not like you can skip it and it all makes sense.
I suppose, but at the same time,
I don't know.
its integration was so poor. It was
I'm of
so
two minds. I'm more towards Elge's side because when you think about it, the fake amulet is instrumental to the ending. It is important. They do introduce that, and it comes back to be the only reason why Wojira is summoned. So fair, but
at the same time,
but
pacing
exactly,
then-
we're
the
on the
pacing
same
then
page here.
continues.
yeah,
But the fake amulet is predicated on the island not mattering at all because everything they did in the 4 episodes just culminated in them failing to stop the amulet
Exactly.
being stolen.
Additionally, you don't need a special to be like, because we've seen the water amulet, right? We know that they've been to the island. We don't need to see any of that because they have had stories and adventures and tales that we have not seen before in the show. So you can just square it away by being like, we got to go to the island. We've already been to the island. We know what an amulet looks like. We have seen one already on Wojira. So they go there. We also don't need an explanation to say that Clutch Powers went there and he swapped it out. Like, Seabound is very easily contained in itself.
If you cut out Twitchy Tim, you could have just had the island be like, narratively, we get there for the first time when it becomes relevant in Seabound.
Literally.
And you could have chopped off like 2 episodes, and you could have just had like, oh, they take the ninja captive, and then they tell them and cut out the stupid Ronin thing that everybody hates, and like just literally have it be like, oh yeah, this Clutch Powers adventured here once, so he took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it doesn't add anything.
And I guess
there's nothing
This can
essential.
also go into the interesting pacing of Seabound in total, because like there's a soft sort of like stop at the end of episode 12, and then all of a sudden there's a cold open and start of episode 13, which was kind of weird.
I did notice that.
So it's one of those like, and I mean that goes along with like, why did all of a sudden like they started celebrating and it was like, you know, the season was over, and then it wasn't over, and it was a really weird soft kind of pacing.
There had to have been a reason for that.
Yeah.
You know? And considering the fact that like them dumping all the episodes, I mean, like Tommy just said on Twitter like yesterday, he's like, I'm not even gonna comment on Seabound because it's not out everywhere. It's not gonna be for a while, so I'm not gonna say anything. It's like, you know, this wasn't the plan. You know, there's no way this was their intention to have all the episodes be dumped at once. So with the cold open, like, it wouldn't surprise me if that was by design.
Yeah. The cold
I mean,
open
the
feels like
cold
it
open-
implies something more.
Yeah, the cold open was before another 4 episodes, which was the same number of episodes as the island. So
it's like it's a season bookended by 4 episode chunks.
Yeah.
It's about framing. If we, which some people love to treat the island as a season, for some reason, I'll never understand. If we treat the island as season 14 and Seabound as 15, like, it's god awful and it's held back. I completely agree.
But if you see it all together,
if you view it all as the same season, I would still say it has some issues, and they all relate back to the island. But
Exactly.
it does work a lot better if you view it as one
As
20
one
episode
thing, yeah.
season.
yeah.
Yeah, sure, but
Um,
if you choose to do that. And my whole point there is you don't even have to with Master of the Mountain. There
Correct.
isn't
All the
there isn't a
that is true.
there isn't a predicus that holds it back. There's nothing that restricts it from just being a really solid season. Like it is just good. And the pacing is good, and it delves into all of the aspects of its world. Even the episode that I don't like the most. Like my least favorite episode, which was the backstory of the Upley. You know, that cartoon, the 2D animated one. Even that one still informs. We still constantly get information and additional
We
world
got to see
building.
Metalonia.
We see Metalonia. So there's still stuff from it. It still helps. And so I don't feel like there's no dip point in Master of the Mountain. So I
But I didn't really feel like there was a dip point in Seabound.
Yeah, if you don't consider the island, is there a dip point?
Well,
Like, I don't really think so. Even the parts where they were on the island, I thought were fine.
I mean,
Was there a
like I said,
dip point for anyone?
I mean, for the island. I mean,
No,
the
just
island
for-
just felt like
For
you know,
Seabound.
Seabound.
Was there a dip point for anybody? There might be. I'm just curious. Did anybody have
I
one?
think it
No.
might have had a bit of a slow start, but
I like the start.
I think it just
Art was
ramped up
really
the
good.
whole way.
Mm.
It just picked up speed as it went.
Yeah.
My
I think yeah.
the only thing I've seen people frame as a dip point was the Antonia episode
I don't know.
because it was.
Paper
I
Girl
completely
is so
disagree, though.
good. I love
Yeah.
Paper Girl.
But it's just
I-
the same crowd of people that don't like the filler episodes.
It's
Yeah,
not
it is,
filler.
I mean, I like
It's
the Kaiju
intrinsically a
Protocol.
part of the
It's
story.
not. Yeah, it's not even.
Yeah, it's
filler.
great. It's not filler.
Yeah.
There's-
Antonia helps out.
So I would say like the only dip point is the what is it, the Master of the Sea episode where they had like the amulet switch and it was just
Okay.
inherently over. Like that
Yeah, maybe.
episode was
Okay,
kind of,
you're right.
that entire episode took place on docks.
Yes.
It was 11 minutes of just like
11
nothing
minutes of
happening
docs.
and then all of a sudden like everything happened at the end. That's
Hey,
like
guys.
that's like the only dip point that I can think of.
It was Ninjago City Docks.
I was gonna make that joke.
That one also had the Nia backstory, right?
That one did start with that one did have the and one thing that I am kind of upset they showed us that because
Yeah.
as soon as I saw that I knew how, or at least the direction that it was going.
Yeah.
I knew and that's only because of the leaked Nia minifigure. So
Oh yeah, we can finally talk about that. The friggin'
Mhm.
figure has been seen for like a while.
Yeah.
So like we all knew that Nia was gonna power up at some form. I just
Yeah.
assumed it was just gonna be a power up, and
Power up.
the set descriptions literally just call her NRG Nia, just like I said they would. But they
Mhm.
framed it differently. The show took it farther.
Yeah.
But the moment the Nia thing showed up, I was like, oh well, she's gonna
do
become that, and it's gonna be
So if-
permanent. And
if that
Well,
story had not been like told and then all of a sudden like Benthamar says that to her and he's like, well you can't come back from it, and we're like, yeah, I mean it's fine, like it happened one time but this is different. Instead of actually seeing it happen, it probably would have hit different, but
Well, the alternative is you don't have that backstory,
Yeah.
and Jay is dying, and Banthamar's like, "Oh, you can merge with the sea," and she just goes down and does it.
that would have been worse.
That would have
Yeah.
been way worse.
That would have been
Oh,
worse.
true.
It would have been totally out of nowhere.
You need to
True.
have the backstory, otherwise it is just like, oh, by the way, Nia, you can
I think-
actually stop this entire thing right now.
The better option
Well-
might have been if the backstory was way sooner in the season.
like earlier.
Yeah, that it's like a setup and you
Perhaps.
kind of forget it.
And you also
Towards
don't
the
see
end.
what Neod looks like when she powers up, because that was like, if they had like kind of hid the fact of what she looked like, then it wouldn't have had like, but that's just because we know what the minifigure looks like. It would have been
They
obvious.
got multiple levels of like unfortunate occurrences happen.
Yeah. So,
Box art.
Box art.
box art.
The thing with
Also,
the amulet switch. Oh, sorry, go on.
I just looked at a few numbers here because last year we got 30 episodes.
Yep.
Which is 5.5 hours of content.
Yep.
This year, assuming that we get nothing else for the rest of the year besides the legacy shorts, we got 20 episodes, which is 3.6 hours of content.
Yep.
Which is basically a long movie.
Yep. More or less. I think it did very well.
They did good for a short amount of time.
The thing that I would say most of all to take away from this is I did not feel like we can say things about pacing, but most of my concerns about pacing are just the timing that things happen, the timing of the Jaya couple reinforcement, the timing of the backstory. I never really got a vibe of like this could have used more episodes.
Yeah.
It was pretty well.
Yeah.
There was definitely the issue of structuring of where things
Yes,
were.
that is fair.
I
I
mean,
agree wholeheartedly with that.
The big thing you could say is like this could have been more episodes for the island part of the story.
I mean, yeah. If you're gonna treat that as a full part of the story, that could have used more episodes for sure.
But I think they did like if we assume they just had the 20 episodes and like deal with it however you want, I think it's the smart idea to cut the island short and focus on the second part more.
That's a good point. I'm gonna beat this dead horse again. We would have probably had more Jaya moments if these episodes were 22 minutes long instead of 11 minutes. Because trying to find little intimate moments in these episodes are probably already incredibly difficult.
Correct.
So,
You're right.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep.
So
I know.
To conclude our earlier conversation, these things are still issues. And I definitely still think that while Nia's sacrifice is fantastic, there's some questions pertaining to the circumstances surrounding it. We never really saw her try this out. We never really saw her consider it. It was just kind of, all right, I'm just going to do it. And she did it. And that was it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't substantially affect the season. It doesn't substantially affect Nia. But it is one of those things where, well, it has that. Master of the Mountain definitely saw Cole trying. He was definitely, there were moments where he was actively attempting to do the thing. He couldn't do the thing. And then during the final confrontation, had the revelation of how. So that whole thing, the island, the structuring, those are the things that make me believe that Master of the Mountain, if albeit just a little bit, just a smidge more, is a better season than Seabound. And I still think that maybe Cole, fair enough, I will concede Cole didn't go through character arc, but it was much needed character focus for him. Substantially. I still feel that he gained more than Nia did. Narratively.
I mean, technically, Nia gained the entire ocean, but
I don't know. Like, I would need. Here's my problem with Cole. Like, I don't want to beat this dead horse because I want to be mean to you.
I'd have one more point, but continue.
Go on.
Oh,
no, you finish.
It is going to be very quick.
Say it to my face, Tyler.
I will.
All right, dialogue. I'm usually pretty harsh on dialogue, especially character dialogue. I was really riffing on Ronan in the island and how that felt very out of character for him. I think there's an argument that even Dareth this season was a little out of character, even though that was the best episode of the entire season, definitely one of the best episodes in the entire franchise. Because Dareth didn't have a whole lot of, cowarding moments, and he's obviously a coward. I am happy that he didn't have those moments, because I think it was good for him to grow past that, even if only a little bit. And I like to think that at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, Dareth will always try to act. I think we have seen it in the past.
That's true.
Nia's final words to the gang before she reduced the water levels in Ninjago City. You're all my friends. One of those people is her brother. The other one is her significant other. Are they really all her friends and not her family?
I don't think that was. I mean,
That struck me as weird.
Part of it is that it's not really Nia.
Yeah.
If she was a goddess,
Then why would she
really
say
put
that at
the
all?
goddess- Because a goddess can be like, "You're my friends."
What were you
But-
saying, Al? AJ?
Yeah.
What were you
Go
saying?
ahead, AJ.
I was literally just saying like in agreement with
Touche.
I don't think that's a good enough reason though. Why bother?
But I didn't really have it. Like, I didn't raise eyebrows. Like, you can still be friends with your brother.
I mean, yeah, sure, but it just struck me as unusual that she opted for the word friends, especially with that whole group.
Ninjago has never really reinforced, like, thematically, they have reinforced the "we are family." Of course they have. I don't know if verbally they've ever reinforced the "we are a found family" motif.
They said it in this season to Bentho.
Bentho? Lloyd did?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. LJ's right. if they consider Benthamar part of their family, then yes, I would imagine Nia would consider Kai part of her family.
Wait, Sakota, when did they do that? Because I definitely remember Lloyd being like, you know what?
Yeah, Lloyd was like, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends, and we're in this together and all that.
Oh, so they called them friends.
Yeah, I'm proud to consider you a friend. So that's not my point.
Oh, that is different.
My point is that I just found it a little unusual that Nia was like, "You're all my friends."
It's interesting because I know us being fans of Ninjago and us knowing Nia, we want her to say, "You are all my brothers," or "You're my family," or whatnot. But I think it makes it even more devastating that she doesn't, and that it even shows more of that it's not really her anymore. There's aspects of her and whatnot, but the fact that she just regards them as friends is just like an even deeper blow to like the gut. So I don't know if it's on purpose or not.
I didn't interpret it that way at all. But I guess now that you mention it, it could be like they're friends of the elements. I don't know. That's weird.
Well, I mean, even just friends. Like she's a goddess. So yeah, you are all my friends.
I didn't interpret it that way too. What I think is like if she said family and Bentho's there, that would be kind of weird too.
Bruh.
Yeah, but I don't know. But they already accepted him in.
Just as a friend, bro.
I don't know.
They friend zoned Bentho.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nia friend zoned Jay pretty harshly, or
posthumously.
Nia did it. So
posthumously. What was my? Oh yeah, real quick. I wanted to finish the Cole thing. I don't want to like harp on it because I'm mean to you about Cole. After Master of the Mountain, I feel like we got a lot of really good character focus on him. We got to see him be a leader. But I still like we had the age old thing LJ and I have always said is like I don't know if we could describe Cole's personality in like a few words. I still don't know if we really can.
I think we can now. I think there's enough that we can describe him. And he is constantly in service to others and a purveyor for good, essentially. I think that is the best descriptor of Cole. Just succinctly, he's loyal. He is constantly in service of other people, even at the cost of himself. Okay. And I think there's an argument that the other ninja are like that to extents.
That's how I feel.
But I think we have seen. I think that differs from him just being a good guy. There's a difference there, and that specifically being we have seen other ninja be selfish in several different instances. Yeah. And that's why
one of my favorite shots from the finale is Cole like grasping Jay's like arm or his shoulder during the funeral. Like you can see like the strength he grabs him with it too. Like it's subtle, but it's there. And that's
I've said this a few times off air. I think I said it in the reaction. I'm very glad that Kirby Morrow's last scene as Cole is being Jay's best friend and like supporting him through a hard time. Yeah. Like talk about bringing it back to like the start and reinforcing like the most important like character bond that his character had. What a good scene.
Yeah. So
And of course, there's the tragedy that Cole's last scene was at a funeral.
That's also sad. Yeah.
at the same time, I like to think that the eulogy that Wu gave was dual purpose. It wasn't simply for Nia. It also serves very well to be for Kirby Morrow as well. So I think there is a poignance in that I can appreciate. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, I do think we have enough to describe Cole that way, and in a way that does make him distinct from the other ninja.
Yeah.
And again, I'm by no means a Cole fan, but I think that is fair, and I think it is fair to say that given all of those things, Master of the Mountain just barely edges out. Because I recently rewatched Master of the Mountain, and so that's why this is all fresh to me. And it is genuinely just a solid... It's a solid season.
I value, the journey, but like it's not objectively better or anything. I like Nia because of the journey she went on, culminating in the person she is today. Like she's annoying in Skybound. She's an annoying brat in Possession in Skybound. She's matured a lot,
and that's great.
And I think that was very by design. Cole, I feel like if I took snippets of Cole from Prime Empire and then snippets of Cole from the island, he's the same person. But like you said, it's not bad necessarily that he didn't change.
I don't necessarily think that is a negative aspect. It is a good quality of character to be an unchanging good person in dire circumstances. So, and I think because would the other ninja necessarily react the same way? Could you see Kai in those circumstances? We've seen him in those circumstances. Nope. He literally attacked his parents. He just assumes they must be bad guys. Time to die, folks.
Pretty much, classic.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that is my whole argument, and so I will concede. Cole didn't have necessarily a character arc. It was a character spotlight, but it was one that was desperately needed to designate who he is as a character. Nia may have had the better character arc. I just feel that the overall season, there's slight wear and tear that just brings it down a little bit.
I mean, let's be real. Whatever direction like our conversation shook out as, we're like arguing which is the better out of the two best things Ninjago has like done in the last 5 years. So like, it's a compliment to both seasons.
Absolutely, they're both.
Really
it cannot be stated enough. These are both excellent seasons. 100. I've since Wild Brain has took over, I haven't found myself as jazzed about Forbidden Spinjitzu, either fire or ice. I thought Prime Empire was a really weak season, generally, though I need to see it again. Master of the Mountain was excellent. The Island was poor. Seabound was excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, I can. After hearing you both argue over this, and LJ valiantly supporting Cole in ways
don't
that
say
I probably
those words. Don't paint me as that villain.
I still can't decide which one I like. It's to the point where it's like freaking well done, Braggy, where you somehow managed to go almost back to back with two of the best seasons Ninjago's ever seen, and with also hinting that there's still more to come. Like he says, we've seen nothing yet on Twitter, and we're like, well, you just gave us some of the best Ninjago content we've ever seen. How do you mean that it can still keep getting better than this?
You just killed Nia, who dies next, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like...
Are you gonna kill me, Braggy? Come at me, man. But so I can't decide, and I think that it's probably gonna stay like that for a very, very long time, where Seabound and Master of the Mountain are gonna stay side by side.
What's up, Alti?
I feel like I like Seabound more purely because the politics of the geckos and the months makes me want to throw my brain in the microwave.
It drags them down a lot, the geckos and the months. But by contrast, I would counter and say at least we got the geckos and the months. I feel like we went through the whole season and we got very little of Merlopian life outside of the three people.
It gave the ninjas something to do when they were split up.
I mean, that much is true, but at the same time, if Skybound, Jeez, look what you've done to me. I think if Seabound and Master of the Mountain can stand shoulder to shoulder, and Seabound does it without having to expound on, oh, look at these other people that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Because you can argue that, yeah, there's a bunch of Gekkel and Muntz, but at the same time, the only two that matter are the Prime Minister and the one who's,
That's true.
Don't forget about Mert.
Who?
Mert.
Who?
Mert
Oh, yeah,
was
Mert.
like
Was Mert the one that was into Jay?
Mert was,
And then
no.
the ninja were
more
like,
tasteful.
so. And the school sorcerer was so. Like,
Remember, was the LJ recap guy?
Yeah, it's
Mert
like
was Master of the Mountain's Bantama for Seabound.
I like the way Meso described Mert. Thank you, Meso, for giving credit where
yeah,
it's
that's
due.
why I prefer Seabound.
I see. I don't.
No, I
I
get
don't
you.
necessarily.
I like the good to the monk of the wall.
I don't see the
Also,
months and the
Master of the
Geckos.
Mountain did better with the ensemble cast than Seabound did freaking. Oh, who are the new characters? Colin, Kai, and the Monster.
I mean,
Like, they balanced all of
for the
them very
final
well.
battle, the ensemble cast are in a cage.
No, they were free, and then they had the epic one shot. Remember?
Splitting up the cast is like the second best. Okay, killing Nia was the best thing Seabound did. Splitting up the cast was the second best thing they did.
Yeah.
What a smart decision! What an
Pixel
awesome
screen
decision!
time. I'll always fight for that.
Seabound will forever be the thing I point to when I need an example of like why having too many characters can be a bad thing. Look at how they had like time to breathe when you just chopped off like some of the most irrelevant like ones.
They chopped
No
them off, and then
offense.
they ended up killing Nia.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about that.
So,
I
yeah, Dakota, go ahead. Your turn. Ulti, did you finish your point, or?
My point was that I really just despise the Geckels and the Muntz, and that's why Seabound's better.
Okay.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right, Dakota.
I personally liked Seabound better too than Master of the Mountain. I think like what
was
LJ
that?
says is right. If you search for like problems in Seabound and Master of the Mountain, you'll probably find more in Seabound. But I think it's because they risk more for me personally.
Yeah.
They pushed things more to the extreme. I think the villains were a lot more interesting and a lot more comedic. I like splitting up the cast. They risked a lot and they did a lot different than in other Ninjago seasons, and that's why I liked it more. But they're both super solid seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fair. That's a perfectly reasonable perspective to take.
That's another thing Dakota reminded me of. I like Seabound way more because Kalmar is like
Yeah.
the villain. He's so unbelievably good. Like every
For voice
aspect of him
acting,
just
it's-
comes together so completely and he's so good.
Yeah,
And I can't wait to see
Seabound,
when he comes
yeah.
back in 2 seasons with a white repaint.
Coming back.
Yeah,
He's
that's a
dead,
fair
Joe.
point. Kalmar is very good. He
He's
was very strong, inherently evil, well voiced. Holy mackerel!
He's very
I,
charismatic.
I think I've said this in like every Ninjago cast for Seabound, but the way he like his expressions, the way his face just like can
The jump
deform in
scares.
any number of ways is so good.
Yep.
Mhm.
The garbage truck scene in Paper Girl is like Kalmar's great. Oh, don't they have sarcasm where you come from? I
Kalmar.
saw you 5 minutes ago. Of course I remember you. And then I'm like screaming as the thing goes over the.
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Oh, what's a Paper Girl? Oh, it's God. Okay."
Mhm.
Yeah, Kalmar had an immense amount of charisma, and that is in no small part on account of the voice actor. If you had told me
God too.
back when Nexonites was coming out that Clay would talk like that, I wouldn't have believed you. Not as a
Dude's a
disservice to the
legend.
voice actor, but that is like genuine praise. What an outstanding performance.
It's
He's a
really
legend.
good. Here's the other thing about Kalmar, and it's his charisma, and he's like the hilarity of him, and they make fun of him a lot.
Mhm.
If you took Skull Sorcerer and you applied the same jokes to him, would Skull Sorcerer stand up as well? Say the bit
No.
where
He did-
Kalmar
he-
gets
yeah.
scared by like the other bloke.
he didn't. I mean, they made fun of him too. In episode 15, they made fun of him and his skull, and he like barely really said anything about it.
Yeah, it's
And I think-
like, would he have survived if they played with him the same way? And I don't think he would have.
I think every season and their villain are interesting as far as discussion is concerned, because not every season can have every other season's villain. I don't feel like, because the different goals of different seasons necessitate different antagonistic forces. I feel
Bingo.
you cannot.
That's true.
Don't get me wrong. I do agree. Kalmar is the more entertaining villain, but I don't necessarily think that having just someone who is an antagonistic force just be that is necessarily a wrong. I don't necessarily believe that is a poor decision on the season's
it's fine
part.
for the story it was on.
But I definitely agree, though, that this season's villain
Kalmar's epic.
is the better villain, and it is a plus to the season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, AJ.
Yeah.
In the great battle of Master of the Mountain and Seabound, I wonder which one you will pick.
I wonder.
Skybound, obviously.
Like,
Team Seabound desperately needs your support.
AJ, Crime Empire's #1 fan.
no,
No,
don't
team-
even. No,
AJ, you think it's a 10 out of 10? I know you do.
no,
Don't lie.
don't do this. Don't lie.
It did have more JM moments though.
But doesn't mean it wasn't
Yeah,
that
that-
season. I mean, yeah, Seabound. Like, I still enjoyed Master of the Mountain. It's just that, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm like biased being a Nia fan, but I came out of the season just like it's a struggle of like you guys have been making arguments the entire time and like making points about all of its like flaws and things. And even though I'm like aware of it all, I just don't even like care because I was just enjoying myself and like just happy with like
It makes
the
me
story
happy.
in general, like just everything, like the concepts and like even just like the way everything looks, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It's kind of like it's just right on the street, I guess. Like,
I mean, you brought up a good point, like how it looks. Like I know there was
Yeah.
like animation stuff
oh,
you wanted to get into.
the
like-
animation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was rewatching the episodes before, and I noticed in like one of the episodes, I think it was the episode with like Nia like trying to, you know, get like whales to come and drag the boat or whatever. It was all of these like hand movements and stuff, and all of these like subtle little things. Like there's always little like just the characters are doing these little movements, and it just adds so much more to like.
They're so expressive and like
Yeah.
characteristic.
And this isn't necessarily like a Seabound thing, but one thing I've really been obsessed with since they've like done the soft reboot is whenever Wu fights someone, I get really happy because like the way they animate his staff, the in-betweens are like smear frames, and I'm obsessed because it makes it so fluid. And I can't, like, every time I watch Wu fight, I'm just always looking at the staff, never at the actual fight, because I'm like,
it's really cool thing. He stepped on the staff and it like popped up into his hand and his hat was still down. I was like,
Jay
You
fighting
feel-
with the
you
stuff.
Yeah,
feel
Jay
Wu had-
going all mad.
Yeah, great.
So AJ, what I'm getting from this is that when I release my video about why Wu should die, you're gonna make a counter video about why his staff means he should live.
I mean, Messa, all you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, because anyone can just, like, pick up the stuff and be like, yep.
On a toilet.
All you need to do is just ask AJ to be like, I need Wu angst, and that's all it's gonna take.
Yeah, please make the tweet. Make the tweet.
That's how
Although I
Wu
will
will
say-
finally die.
I
So,
will
yes, for
say,
Wu.
in Wu's very limited role, like I mean, if seasons were like this is I'm fine with him staying alive. Like he stayed at home, he had a few cool one-liners, and like Lloyd was, I guess, technically not really mission leader, but he could have been mission leader if he was Master Lloyd. You could have been there. That's fine. It was good.
It's a bit
Lloyd
ironic.
didn't really
that-
do anything this season.
No,
Yeah.
but I think that's to the season's credit in a
Yeah.
way. It wasn't
Yeah.
a Lloyd season.
It wasn't a Lloyd
Yeah.
season. He took the backseat, and his backseat was
Yeah.
like the trunk.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he basically filled the same role as Pixel this season, which was
Yeah.
like saying
he,
something about
he sat in his
Pixel
mech.
and also Lloyd.
He saw the mech, and he was like, "That's my home for the next, few episodes." So
I wonder what this would look like if it was missing its shoulder pad.
I wish they would have blasted that off. It would have been so funny.
Yeah.
just to get the cheer from everyone in NINJAGOcast React.
It
would have been
funny.
so excited.
I'm jumping around, but like AJ, you mentioned Woo's staff and how
Yeah.
cool it is, and it reminded me. I wanted to touch on something we haven't really touched on as of yet, and that's the final battle.
Yeah.
Because all through the
Oh,
season, I was like, so there's one thing like missing that I feel like Master of the Mountain had better. It was like Master of the Mountain has really cool fight scenes. I was like, I kind of want to see some of these, and we didn't really get a lot of them throughout the season because a lot of it was shooting lasers out of the tridents. So like we didn't really have a lot of good, we had some, don't get me wrong, but not as much cool like hand-to-hand choreography. And then they just dump like a metric ton of it in the last like 6 episodes, and it was awesome. Pretty much starting with the Explorers Club battle with Wu versus Kalmar
Yeah.
onwards. It was like fight after fight after fight after fight after fight after fight after epic fight. Now it's a 3v1 fight on Wojira. Everyone tagging out to fight Kalmar. It was like, oh, Nia fights him, and then Jay fights him, and then Binthamar fights him. Like, oh, it was just awesome. That's what I really appreciate how they did it. Nia got the big win. She stopped the greater threat, but they gave people smaller moments.
Smaller
Like
victories,
I cannot say enough how glad I am that Binthamar was, I guess, the one responsible for taking down Kalmar instead of Nia, because that's a personal fight for him. Nia stopped Wojira, that was good for her, but like Binthamar and his face-off was a great culmination to their whole deal. And it not only was a good fight, but it was just a good character piece. Him denouncing him as a brother after looking up to him the whole season, only to then still be kind of sad when he got eaten. Look at his face.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I wish it didn't have to come to this.
And I was glad to see Jay get in there too, because obviously his girlfriend
makes
has
sense.
become the ocean.
Yeah.
He did a
And,
triple flip and was friggin'
yeah.
glowing with
And
lightning.
the way
one
that he
thing I wish-
screamed was so
Yeah.
good.
The one thing that I would have wished in that moment, I didn't even care if it was canon or not, or like it would make sense lore wise, is that he gets, blasted by him. And then out of like even a new rage, he like grabs a bolt of purple lightning and just like whips Calamar with it.
No, I thought you
As the
were going to
master of
suggest that
lightning.
he did the ninjukan.
But he basically just harnesses that lightning for like a split second, and then like it
That
would
would've been
hurt
cool.
Jay. But in his rage, he'd controlled an element that kind of wasn't his, but also sort of was his.
The
But-
storm amulet is like
'Cause
my
I
really
wanted-
big
Because
question.
the purple lightning was so prevalent in these episodes that I was like, "Come on, Jay, do something with it." Like I want him to do something with it, and that would have been the perfect moment. But alas, but it was still very cool.
What
Also,
was
like-
going on with the purple lightning? Like, what's its
Wojira.
deal?
It's just this, like it's the 2 amulets, right? Like
Yeah.
one is the waves, and then one is the storm.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
other element is wind.
Yeah, but the storm is like combination of wind and
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, but the other element is wind.
And yet she was shooting lightning out of her mouth.
I see where you're going with this,
That's where you're
Ulti,
going,
though.
yeah.
I see where you're going with it because the lightning is an element of creation.
Yeah.
And Wojira was
Mo-
only supposed to be like wind
At
and
no
water.
point in possession was did Mara just like smite Lloyd.
I get that.
Moro, when he was possessing Lloyd, the only element he did use to like as an element of creation was lightning.
Yeah,
He used it one time, and then
like green
he never
lightning.
used fire, he never used ice, he never used earth, but he did use green lightning.
The only thing I'll say about it is, well, I forget. I'm not saying there isn't a reason. I just forget it. Why do the keepers have like their lightning stuff?
I don't think there was a reason.
Was that because of the amulet?
They set the harness the storm basically to protect the amulet.
Yeah.
And the
So I
stone
would-
stone golems they have, I think they're from the first Fujitsu Master, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They work with the same technology.
I would
so-
argue, even if it does not make sense, that it's reasonable to assume that if the keepers harness the storm and control lightning, Wojira would also harness the storm and control lightning.
Yeah,
I
I
can
mean that's
accept
what
that.
it is. That's what it is. But it's interesting that it's lightning.
Because
Yeah, but-
lightning is an element of creation
Yeah,
for some
so-
godforsaken reason.
Yeah.
It just bothers me a lot that you explicitly have lightning as an element, and Wojira controls it, and apparently the two elements under her purview are wind and.
There's
I mean,
a
it's
different
like-
lightning, bro.
It's
The
like they
purple
said,
lightning is
oh,
a
this-
creation.
If you have
this was
fire-
the amulet of lightning,
So-
fine, that's
since-
perfect.
But
Sensei Wolf is going to step in for 1 second and say, I think this would be a good discussion on another Ninjago cast in the future. And that's because we can group this in with just to talk about elements. When we're grouping it with elements, we can also talk a bit about Lloyd.
Right.
of elements.
Yeah. We can talk a little bit about Lloyd's
I'm
element.
going to put a pin in this. Pin in Wojira. And
When
like,
does the Book of Elements come out?
It's
September.
Is it?
Oh.
Do we get a
Yep.
date on it? I thought it was just quarter
Seven.
3.
September
we can
7th.
have this in a few weeks. We can have an element like the we
I could get that for my birthday.
Alright.
So just
I
because
can
you know
write
we've
them
been
tomorrow.
we've been chatting for about 2 hours, and there's one more thing that we need to talk about.
Yeah, I mean the
Yes.
Ventamar thing was basically my last bit, so we can.
We have a one last thing, and we'll try to do this around 15 to 30 minutes, but it is a very important point to make, and it's the point of after Seabound has come out, the biggest critique that people are offering to this that I've seen everywhere is that they got rid of Nia on purpose.
And
Which is just nothing but a crackpot conspiracy theory. Let's get that
Yeah.
clear.
Let's get that clear.
We've heard nothing publicly as to any reason. No one has
Yeah.
commented on it as to why as of yet. It is
Yeah.
complete conjecture.
So I think it is, I don't want to say common knowledge, but I think it was inferred that Nia was not a top selling character of Ninjago. She didn't really sell well, which was the same issue Cole had, which is why Cole never got focus. But when people are saying that, well, they killed her off in order, like as a marketing ploy, because she's the girl person and she doesn't sell well, so we're going to get rid of her to get rid of that issue. I think that it's the complete opposite. And the reason they got rid of her is because any character at any point is subject to be treated as, we're going to give stake, we're going to show that this character can be killed off. I mean, except for Zane, because if Zane dies, then it's pretty much, humor at this point. But for Nia, she has an equal chance than all the others to be treated that she can be, have the same stakes as anyone else. Unfortunately, it was the same season as the one where it's her first season as with solo performance or her solo presence that she was killed off or what, but it's not to like get rid of her. So
I just want to say I have not heard a source for this claim that Nia sets sold less than others. I've heard one person say it, and they said it because they heard that from a Lego store employee who said that. To that, I have to say we were friends with, kind of still are friends. I don't know. He's exited the community, but someone we know used to work at a Lego store back in 2005. And he told us at one point, oh yeah, the Bionicle sets never really sold all too well. They just generally weren't high-selling products. Bionicle continued to last for another 5 years. So, I don't necessarily take the word of a random Lego store employee at face value, I guess. As such, I have not heard any other claims. This argument that Nia was deliberately taken away for marketing purposes, to me, is so contrary to everything Lego has done pertaining to Nia. From integrating her more to the ninja, more into the team, making her a ninja, giving her such heavy focus in a variety of seasons, giving her an entire season. Like, who is here working at Lego making the business decision of, you know what, this one minifigure doesn't sell well. We never make sets that are specifically surrounding this minifigure. She is always in sets with other minifigures that people can still be interested in. Let's make an entire marketing push, an entire season, an entire set wave, put her on the box for an entire half of a year so we can get rid of her. Who's making these business decisions? That's so much money.
It makes no sense.
It just doesn't line up with any reality. I don't understand how someone can come to that conclusion.
I mean, it's that really the crux of the point is, is that whole thing about if they really wanted to get rid of her, if they had an ulterior motive. There have been numerous other instances where they could have done so, and they didn't. So I don't accept that there is an anti-Nia sentiment from a writer perspective. I do, however, I do believe there is an anti-Nia sentiment on a lower level, from a marketing perspective. Nothing personal necessarily, but I do believe in that, that undercurrent of, the sexism angle of like, well, it's a boy's toy, girls don't sell, which would explain her not having a season before now, or only ever being on the box with Kai.
Yeah.
So my real stance, I am not one of those people who is upset. I'm just happy that someone died because of stakes. I'm just going to be real, and it made sense for the story for it to be Nia. I totally get and do not fault anyone, however, if they are sad that she died or annoyed that she died because they liked her, because ultimately it's not up to, the person to extrapolate or guess as to the motives of who did what and who believes what and who's really at fault, because from a just these are the facts perspective, Nia never had a season. Nia finally gets a season. Nia's dead. Those are the facts. I just disagree trying to frame it as this like great conspiracy, or that the writers just wanted her out no matter what, or that like Tommy hates her guts, because I don't believe that was true.
Nia is Tommy's. I think he said that Nia is Tommy's favorite character.
Yeah.
So
there's no basis in reality.
We would not want to get rid of her.
There is no anti-Nia agenda. This was just a good story they wanted to tell with Nia. But it does kind of suck that because of marketing, she dies right after getting a big push. That sucks. Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But
there was no agenda. There is no agenda for that.
There's no.
And it's not like Tommy or the writers could control that other angle either. Mm-hmm. That's outside of their wheelhouse.
Yeah. I
don't. In fact, I think it's more the other way around. Like it was going to be like, wait, you did what now?
Because I don't.
They're gonna finally tune back in and they realize, wait, so you just made a story and you killed off one of the characters, like for real?
Yeah.
I just don't think that there is an argument based currently, in fact, in reality, that this was intentionally to get Nia out.
Nope.
In addition, someone from the YouTube chat, Obi-Wan Kenobi, said, but I have to say, LJ, they did make a point of making Nia look as alien as possible in the box art. They had Nia at her absolute, literal strongest on the box art. I don't think she looks any different than any other ninja in a gi, in a mask.
I mean, look at it this way, Obi-Wan. The biggest critique people have given to that Nia box art is that she looks like Pixel.
Yeah.
So one girl looks like another girl. Either way, it's still a girl. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like they didn't try to disguise the fact.
Yeah, It's silly. Additionally, Nia has always, her whole character has always been about not just being the girl, not just being the girl one. She even reinforces that in this season when Kalmar toward the end is like, look, it's the girl. And she's like, I'm not girl. My name is not girl. It's Nia. And then proceeds to beat the snot out of him.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I really hate this argument too, because it just boils her down to just being the girl one. Like that is the antithesis of her entire character and her mentality. Like you've just boiled her down to that. I'm glad the show
was all-
respected her as a character enough to be willing to do this to her.
It was
Yeah.
always a boys' club, and she found her way to make herself the hero, which
Yeah.
is directly from season 1.
They did the logical conclusion for the character, no matter like the gender of the character, and I respect that.
100%.
I can guarantee you that, like, if they wanted to do, like, say they were going, it's hard because you, like, you know, maybe Cole could have sacrificed himself at the end of Master of the Mountain, but then it would have probably, well, I don't even know, like, they could have.
Any character could sacrifice
Any
themselves
character
at
at
any
any
point,
Yeah.
theoretically.
So theoretically,
Uh,
so I'm just not, like, trying to think of, like, you know, the way that they did it with her, like, merging with her element is kind of hard for other people to do because, like, Zane would have to surround himself with ice, and
How can
Kai
you
would have to,
merge? Yeah.
like, how would you merge Kai with fire, and how would you merge Lloyd with anything?
Nah,
really?
Look at the birth minifigures.
I don't
Yeah.
necessarily. I'm not ready to 100% agree that it would be difficult to merge them with elements. We've seen Lego properties do that, and they just become their element. Same as Nia just became water. You know,
True.
like Cole can
The
become
merging
earth.
thing is just an arbitrary thing they created for this season, but they can channel their elements at any point, and how much they channel it varies depending on the story that's being told.
I know Josh just DM'd me, and he was like, because he's watching, he's here. Hi, Josh.
Hey,
But you think when they reached their true potential for the first time, it was kind of the same of what they were doing or what Nia just did, except they were just being controlled by the golden weapon, was kind of like keeping them, holding them back from crossing that line to never returning.
Here's my big question, because we never saw Nia with the scroll of forbidden spinjitzu. If she had that, would she have turned into water?
what do you mean?
Because
If
it's
she,
like
had reached
the
her
scroll
true
of forbidden spinjitzu gives you your true potential immediately. So
Was it?
Well, I
Yeah.
think, I mean,
would that give Nia the water form?
I think with Nia is that she let the ocean inside of her instead of
Yeah.
like harnessing it. She literally like gave herself up to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a true potential in the context that true
Yeah.
potential is you surpassing your limits.
It would,
What
it would
Nia did
basically
was
be like
surpassing her
Jay.
humanity.
It'd basically be like Jay going to that one place where like the nunchucks over there, the floating nunchucks back in the pilots, and just like staying at the top and like doing spinjitzu and like letting himself be shocked to lightning to the point where he harnesses the lightning itself and he just no longer is human.
Yeah.
I get the
So-
questions though, because I mean these are all arbitrary limits for arbitrary
Yeah.
power ups that are piled on top of each other. So I do get the confusion. Because like for like it is what Nia did specific to Wojira elemental people. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think so, but it could be.
We don't know.
One
Yeah.
thing I want to say before we move like completely away
Yes.
from the topic of Nia being killed for marketing reasons to like remove.
Shoot, yeah, I still have more to say too. But go ahead.
She's still gonna show up in legacy sets.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you kill her off now, but she was still oddly enough in possession.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
So-
the sets have already started moving into that region, so I think it's like you had the Samurai X mech where she's Samurai X. She's gonna start showing up as the Water Ninja any like legacy wave now. I don't think that to say she's been removed because marketing doesn't want to sell her as like inane because she'll show
That's
up in
not
legacy
true.
no matter what.
Yeah. Additionally, like, do you know what one of the most popular Lego themes is of the last few years?
Lego friends.
Bingo! Lego Friends. What is Lego Friends? It is a
It's
theme
the
very
girl theme.
specifically marketed toward a female audience. It is one of the most popular Lego themes of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also like when the 10-year anniversary was around and they did like the press release with this year we're focusing on Nia and her water element. I do not think that would be the way they present it if they are intentionally trying to get rid of Nia.
Yeah.
They could downplay her in any number of ways.
Yeah.
Any number of ways. Because there was a comment by Walk in the chat. Walk says, I don't think that was at all what was being argued. I think you completely misunderstood that. No one said the writers had it out for her. rather that those above that Lego management did, not saying I agree with it.
Okay, but
Important clarification. We're not specifically, referencing any one sentiment. There is a general sentiment that has been shared. And I have seen a significant number of people who are less, let's say, they're less technical about their knowledge of like Lego and the company or whatever, and it's very easy to lump the writers in as like, oh, well, the writers, obviously this was all their decision, they wrote this, and then other people say other things. Like, I think it's important to draw those lines of who is to blame, if there is anyone to blame. You know what I mean? Like, it's important to discuss that and get that clear. And in this instance, it's very easy to run and create a hypothetical narrative of like, well, the writers just had to get rid of her, and so they just wanted to kill her, so they did this. And then I would be like, but are the writers the ones who choose who's going to be on the box?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
So what you're saying is it's more complicated than that, and there's multiple layers. Like that's the whole
one
point.
thing that I noticed when I was editing the documentary is that it's usually the set designers come up with it first, and they present the stuff to the writers, and then the writers build a story off of what they present.
Yeah.
So it's not like the writers are like, okay, so this season we're gonna go underwater because thematically this is what's gonna go, because it makes no sense, because it's the same like Prime Empire Match of the Mountain. Like, the writers were not like after Prime Empire thinking, awesome, let's do Dungeons and Dragons. Like, that was not the writer's call, that was the set designer's call.
Though that was a very cool decision, whoever made it.
Yes. And we do have that early concept art that showed it as just the Prime Empire world.
Yeah.
Which could have been interesting. But that's exactly it. Like, if you're mad because you think that there was someone with an agenda out for Nia, and you think the writers made the choice to kill her because they wanted to write her out of the show, well, then you have to realize that the people who... The reason you're mad is because she hasn't gotten a lot of quote-unquote focus up until now. But the people who would have given her that focus and the marketing would not be the same people who made the decision to kill her off. If you're attributing the writing and purely the writing, Nia has gotten a lot of really good character stuff. She's the only ninja to have a coherent multi-season narrative that does not get reset or retconned or repeated, that keeps like evolving. She's been done pretty well. She just hasn't been on the box. Those are very different conversations to have. That's the only thing I just want to clarify. And it's ultimately conjecture anyway, because we're probably not going to ever know if there was an executive who had an agenda. Maybe. We will never know, though.
But I know that the people who write the series love Nia dearly, and that they don't want to see her gone, but they want to see her respected as an equal member of the team and an equal possibility to be treated as such, stakes wise and also like role wise.
Yeah.
So,
like, I have the greatest respect for this. Like, I don't want characters to die because I don't like them. I want characters to die because it makes the world feel believable. It makes the conflicts have weight. It changes things. Like, Nia's dead. I was freaking sad. Multiple people cried. Ulti spent days in depression.
Doesn't he
AJ
usually
spent
do
days like
I'm
AJ
still in
spent
depression. I made a video.
AJ spent days in like sorrow.
I
Like,
was really shocked too.
you were freaking shocked.
Dakota and I have been arguing about it since it aired.
Yeah. In a video, like, all of this had an emotional effect on people, and now we get to wonder about the emotional ripple effects that it's going to have on other characters.
Yeah.
Stuff like this is why death is important. It reinforces how much you love people if you're sad that they're gone. And also it sets things up to change interestingly in the future. I can't wait to see where they take Kai and Jay now. But before this season, I kind of was done with both of them. I thought Kai was redundant and they'd wasted him for years. And after Prime Empire, I sure didn't want to see any more Jay focus for a while. But now I'm like, bring on the focus. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It does not automatically signify horrible reasons or horrible motives.
Yeah.
And to say it does discredits all the good that it can do.
Yep. So,
There-
and then, yeah, I was the one final thing is this all means that she cannot come back.
Yeah, if she comes back, all this changes.
Well,
Please God. Maybe not for you. For me, it will all change.
It will change for me too. That doesn't mean it's completely worthless. If they do something interesting out of this, they still can produce a good story out of this, but it will always weaken this season.
I'm watching you, Braggy. Oh, please God. Don't.
Yeah.
I think a full status quo reset. I don't think like anyone wants that.
No.
But 2022 Nia RX.
Oh God.
She can have
Use your water arms.
Yeah. She's got.
You're I don't want.
I would.
She
Oh
becomes
God.
like Mr. Fantastic.
Literal
Like-
nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Instead of the scars, I mean, the markings are like a pretty easy way to signify that she has undergone some variety.
If they bring her back, there has to be a cost. Like, and the cost right now is that she's not herself anymore. If they ever, I honestly want to like there to be like just to break Jay a little more, just like there's hope that she can come back, and then it just doesn't work, and he has
Why?
to like live with it.
Why are you so
cruel?
cruel?
Right for Ninjago?
Like unnecessarily cruel.
Because that creates a good story though.
Oh
Like,
my
do you want to see that? You want to see Jay
Not
go
really.
all
No.
that far and then fail?
He just kind of like drowned. You know that, right?
I can hear that.
His
It was
girlfriend
his
fell
fault.
into
It
the
was
ocean.
his fault for not pulling up his hood.
I mean, it would be interesting, like with the whole Nauticon angle we were discussing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine if they go that route with the story. I just don't want it to work. So in that instance, yeah, I guess they could go on a journey, and then ultimately his arc is about letting go.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like
Maybe.
he ultimately fails, which leads to a deeper thing. So, but yeah, but then of course and this is another big question: who would you rather see have focus next season, Jay or Kai?
Zane.
Kai.
Kai needs it as much as Kai frustrates me at times. He needs it more than Jay does.
Well, I mean, yeah. Jay-
From a meta
Who said
purpose.
Zane? Someone said Zane.
All pieces.
I said, who would you see more, Jay or Kai? And someone said Zane.
Of course, Holty said Zay.
I want Saint season 2, but it's not the time now.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great time. We can delve into like his post.
I mean,
bicep
we all know who's gonna get the season next, and his name has two of the same letters.
I mean, I would also be perfectly.
Goofy
I would also. Why? I would also be perfectly fine if it was a Lloyd season. Lloyd is also underused. That's the problem. Most of the characters I feel like are underused. That ties back to the whole soft reboot thing and what they did. Like the last few arcs haven't exactly been that good for the ninja. It's all been side characters that have gotten all the focus, Akita and Racer 7 and Okino and even the friggin' Upley. Like, I like my side characters. I like them a lot, but give some stuff to like our gang, So
Well,
I'd be fine with anybody.
Give 22 minutes back to Ninjago for the love of God.
Here's the thing about that, right, Masso?
Yes.
There was a Wild Brain season where they didn't have a side character and they tried to juggle multiple character arcs. Do you remember what season that is?
Fire chapter.
It's the Ice chapter.
What?
Fire chapter 2.
You're
What?
forgetting about Akita?
I count Akita.
Yeah,
Akita had
yeah.
the character arc. Yes, I am.
Yeah, and Crag.
Doesn't matter right now.
And Crag.
Wow.
Yeah,
Or Craig,
fair.
or Scola.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this:
Orla.
Crag got more character development than Lloyd has since the soft reboot. He lost his whole family, and he had to come to terms with that.
But Lloyd trusts princesses now.
Lloyd, I princess and Scarmadon.
You just can't let go of Harumi.
Listen, Lloyd's just biding his time for the season where his dad comes back. That's it.
Probably because that's all they can do.
Dude, where is Garmadon even during all of this? Like,
He's
he just,
Vacationing.
the Ninjago city has been attacked like 3 times now by 3 completely different armies, and he's just chilling somewhere.
He's vacationing, dude. Come
Yeah,
on.
he's on the other side of the island, just chilling. He's on the bit where it's like the sun belt.
The island. You saying the island just triggered my memories before we end, because I know we have to end soon. There's one final thing I want to say that made me so happy. And if I complain, I want to give equal focus to the things that make me happy. Ronan was at Nia's funeral.
Yes.
They deliberately showed Ronan right next to the police commissioner at Nia's funeral, which means that, like, he wanted to go to the funeral, and like the police commissioner had to like let him out, and he was just there, like there with him.
My fan theory is that, like, because there's someone stood in front of him, he's just handcuffed to the commissioner.
Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of how I imagine it as well.
Yeah, him getting like day release to be there is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
It made me so happy.
And now
That funeral scene in general was really well done.
Yeah. That's the first time we have Skylar and Ed and Edna.
Wild Brain.
And Wild Brain animation.
Skylar being in her hunter design was an interesting choice.
It's the last time she showed up. So.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that, like, with the precedent that the armor robes have set, I'm assuming that's like her default appearance now.
Yeah.
Probably.
So.
The only people that weren't there were Cyrus Borg, who appeared in Prime Empire, so we know they have the rig. And what was the other? There was another character. Lou, yes. Cole's dead. But the crowd is so big, I can reasonably infer they were there.
Yeah.
We just don't see them.
No.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Clutch was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All your fault, Clutch.
Clutch killed Nia.
But
switching the amulets.
He looked very sorry.
I don't care. I hate him so much.
Yeah, sorry, I killed your friend. I'm really sorry, though.
Well, I mean, inherently, Nia also was pretty responsible for it, too. Like, a lot of the season was her fault.
Okay, but...
Yeah, I know.
But think about it. Think about how differently this season goes. If
Clutch had...
If Clutch hadn't switched out the Storm Amulet, and they just took the Shintaro.
Well, no, because either way, like...
The Merlopians would have protected the island then, right?
Yeah, Kalmar still storms the Hydra bounty no matter what.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
And he most likely would have stormed the... He would have gone
If he had... It's like, he still gets onto the Hydra bounty, the one they have is real.
Yeah.
And it's just an even quicker conclusion to the season. Wojura shows up about a week early.
So Clutch basically all Clutch did was like
he moved the battle.
he moved the battle. He made it. What's the word? He delayed the inevitable. Now, if they had gotten and like booked it to Shintaro, but that was the idea they had after they had time to think about what to do with it.
Power scaling in Ninjago is weird. It really bugs me, and I try to think about it, but it just makes my head hurt. I think that Lloyd, Zane, Pixel, Nia, Jay, and Maya, as well as the Keepers, could probably have tanked Kalmar's group of like 5 guys plus him. I think they could probably have won that fight. Yeah. But we're portrayed to feel like Kalmar is super powerful, and he is. But, like, they've beaten tougher opponents.
Well, Nia Kalmar was coming with an army.
I'd imagine he has, like, a real army, but he didn't use it because
of course they would have probably overrun the Keepers with attrition with the multiple armies. Yeah. But, if they imagining the scenario where they had the real amulet there, probably could have beat him and then yeeted off to Shintaro. I would have hoped so anyway. I try not to think about it because power scaling.
Yeah, there's the whole difference in technology levels as well. Like the Tridents are a one-hit kill. The Zoopy staffs are like a taser.
Oh yeah, another question about the Trident. We made fun of the LEDs.
Yes.
Is it actually a mind control Trident?
I think so.
I don't know if it was mind control or if he was just hurting the thing and
because when it breaks, all of
the
his
eye
like
color
all of
change
his
of Ojira.
goons. Ojira and also all of his goons look like they've just come out of a trance when it goes off.
They said like he's a scholar. Maybe it's some kind of magic he does, or
I need to go back and verify, but I think the trident in the final battle he has is a different model because it noticeably has the psi on the end of it on the other side, and I think he might have like swapped it out for a cooler one.
Well, it might have been the King's one.
That too.
The King's one is different.
Alternatively, I'm blind. It was always there.
Yeah, it's not new.
I think he had the psi all along.
That was
Maybe
basically
it-
the last thing I have. I just wanted to bring that up because, yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Last remarks, anybody? AJ? LJ?
Hello, we are Jays.
Any J's?
League of Jays.
League of J?
They made one for me? No, I'm kidding. So,
No, they made one for AJ.
Oh no!
What the
His
fudge?
message says the internet's being weird. They can't hear any of us. Well,
in that case,
they'll be here in spirit.
I think that this season was remarkable. It was absolutely well done. The animation was top notch. Humor was really good. Obviously, I've said my piece on the parts that I felt were weaker. But if those were the only issues, this season is absolutely masterclass. One of the best seasons that we've gotten for a maybe not a while, but it's certainly one of the best ones that I think leaves all of us in a pretty good state, feeling pretty good about Ninjago currently. Because even though everyone is sad, isn't that an impressive thing that we're sad about something like this? It has it has moved people in that way. And that is an impressive feat for any media. So, definitely 2 thumbs up for Seabound. Excellent season. I am super excited to see the next season and see where it goes and see how they progress the theme.
All right.
Speaking of super, I'm going to quickly do 2 super chats that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Magic Ninja. One of them is $10, saying in full caps, I need Kai Yanks next season and maybe give us some more Kyler, please. I'll also be down for more Kai and Jay moments. I completely agree, actually.
So Kai is dying.
Oh no!
Why?
Well, no,
Why,
that happens if AJ said it.
Yeah. It just
Maybe
back
if
by
AJ
the way.
had,
Hello.
like read the super chat, Tommy like would have woken up in a cold sweat, like I need to kill Kai off next season.
Cold sweat. Another super chat from Match Ninja for $5. I'd also like to mention that the humor in this season was pretty great. Loved the minion getting whacked by the door in the last episode. Yeah, that was really
Pretty funny.
funny.
Thank
And
you,
then
man.
another $5 says, also, am I the only one that sees Kalmar as basically Archie from Pokemon?
I don't know who
I
that is.
don't know.
Yeah,
So, but yeah,
Thank you,
I do agree that the humor in the season was pretty good. So,
Yeah. AJ, you're back. So, closing thoughts on Seabound?
Well, it's favorite season. I don't know, like
It made you happy, and that's what matters.
basically, like I was worried, like coming to the season that like it wasn't gonna be great, or I was gonna be like disappointed. But I've come out like so much like happier than I expect. So it's just an amazing season.
That's
Did a
awesome.
really good job. Yeah.
Happiness!
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. And I'm sure people like Tommy and Braggy are also very glad to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks for the Yanks.
Thanks for the end.
Thanks and also no thanks.
They did provide.
I'm good. I'm happy with Cole. Guys, I'm good.
I don't know. I think I'm feeling some coal Yanks.
Yes,
No,
she said.
No. I mean, I'm honestly, if they did like the same thing with Cole, I would probably be like, I'd be in the same boat. I'm like, I'm so sad and happy at the exact same time. So
Bring on the
Yeah, I keep thinking if they like, or how would I feel if they killed Zane off? You know?
for
I
real,
wonder.
it'd be like the boy who cries wolf, because he'd be like, they'll get him back, and then they just can't get him back, and we're like, that's no good. So
Alright.
we wouldn't even believe it if like they killed him permanently.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the poor dude. All right, closing
More
thoughts.
closing thoughts? Who's next?
Dakota.
Okay. I really love this season. I think it's like top 3 for me. I think they also really handled the 11-minute format very good with this season. It felt, the flow felt natural for me. I love the humor, I love the villains, I love the setting. The animation was great, especially on Wajira and the water and Malopia. And yeah, I also like, I don't think I've ever been so excited to know how it's going to continue, which is a bit like weird because we have to wait like almost a year. But
Yeah.
I think this was a fantastic season.
Nice. Ulti?
Yeah, I love Seabound a lot. I've said this like a ton, but the humor is literally god tier. Kalmar, what an amazing villain! Like,
Squid Boy?
yeah, he's
Calamari.
yeah, he's like unbelievably good. He, you know, the like the pinnacle of Kalmar for me is in Paper Girl, where he's just amazing. I really like. I don't know. I've been kind of bored with Ninjago villains for ages because they're just kind of cookie cutter, but they change like one detail about them. It's like, oh, this guy is evil because he wants money, and this guy is evil because he was written off by IGN as a 1 out of 10 video game.
I'm a villain because I was never loved as a child.
Yeah, you just have this guy who's like, listen, bro, I'm the best one, and you'll suck. And also, I have the charisma to make everyone else believe that you suck.
Well, maybe this one human that delivers papers doesn't suck as much, but everyone else sucks.
Yeah. The whole bit where he's like, what's a paper girl? And, like, you know, they list off, like, the villain of every season, like, oh, are you a ghost? Oh, are you a djinn? Oh.
Are you a mystic?
Elemental master.
I don't.
Yeah, it was great.
know what a mystic
And
is.
I had another point to this. Oh yeah, Pixel was in it. That was really good.
Yeah.
I really hope that.
Pixel had a big role. Yeah.
I really hope she shows up again, and I really hope her mech shows up again. You know, 2 references to the Kaiju Folk School, the best episode of all time. That's how I end my.
All right.
All right. And LJ, you already did yours, right?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right. Tyler.
Well, this season has been incredible. I've basically loved like every episode. I don't think there was a single episode I didn't like, which is rare for me. A lot of my main issues with it come from the placement of things, like was mentioned. I feel like this season could have been re-edited and reshuffled, and maybe the island could have been re-edited and reshuffled, and generally made it a bit more cohesive. But I don't feel like any problems are destructive enough to ruin anything. They're just head scratchers, like, oh, cookie line that feels out of place. Oh, placement of the island. Oh, you know, Wojira lore that people should probably know, or like a dialogue line here that doesn't really make any sense. But like nothing foundational, nothing structural, and nothing that relates to or harms the overall big picture, which is the characters. Nothing is destructive to the payoff. Nothing is destructive to the characters. And since the characters are the core of Ninjago, after all, it succeeds in that because no matter what it might fail at, it stuck the landing with the most important thing. And I mean, it didn't just stick the landing, it was good throughout. It had lots of good character moments. This is peak Wildbrain, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, as them as a studio. I already thought Master of the Mountain was like godlike with the particle effects and the lava and the fight choreography. But this season, they were able to flex their world design a little bit past just caves, and they gave us some really cool vistas in Merlopia. What a well-designed, cool-looking area.
Mm-hmm.
And also the side characters were cool, like Benthamar. He's neat. I like him a lot. Kind of cliche, but he works. And his arc went to completion. This arc was excellent, and so long as it doesn't get screwed with, I'll be using this as an example in the years to come of how good Ninjago can be when everything is firing on all cylinders. It gives me faith that it can still be this good in the modern era, even after everything they've done. You know, they have not bled out their potential yet. It's still there. So well done to the whole team. I liked it a lot.
Yay!
It was also like one of the only times besides Master of the Mountain that I've been happy with a finale. So,
yeah, that's kind of a big deal. That's kind of a big deal for TTV and NINJAGOcast specifically.
Mainly me. I always hate the finales. Yeah. It's just hard with the amount of build up. It's hard to like stick the landing sometimes because stuff has to not change too much. Stuff has to get resolved, you know, to tie things up in a bow usually, and it kind of makes it feel a little hollow. But not this time. It was great.
No,
and not last time either. So positive trajectory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I all of you all had like amazing sentiments about all the different angles of how and why Seabound is absolutely amazing. It truly is like a masterpiece. We had no clue what we were going into when we started the season. You know, back when, you know, Nia had her water issues and we were with, you know, Misdemeanor and Maya entered the picture. And we're like, oh, I love this, you know, Nia and Maya dynamic, which still, you know, stood strong through the rest of the season, which I appreciated. But it besides the fact that, you know, selfishly, I didn't see a lot of Cole, which made me kind of sad. And it had kind of issues balancing some of the ninja. We did have a lot of fantastic character moments for a lot of people. Calamar is easily one of the best villains Ninjago's ever seen, and worst villains when it comes to like, you know, what he did. Like he was demonic, but it's you know, he literally killed someone on camera for the first time in Ninjago's history, which is crazy. You know, there was a lot of risk that they took this season. There's a lot of darkness and a lot of grief. And I think that is hopefully a direction, or at least it's like kind of sign of what Ninjago is and what it can do with the characters that it presents with us. And we know from Braggy and Tommy that this is just the start. And next year is going to be pretty crazy. And if this is what they're showing to us and they're saying that this is nothing compared to what's happening next season, then we are in for probably the biggest ride of Ninjago's life. And it's going to say it right here and right now. I've been saying it for years, but I think got a lot of people who can strongly stand next to me and say that I'm really, really proud to be a Ninjago fan right now. And it's a really, really good time to be a Ninjago fan. So,
woohoo! Fingers crossed it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
Give us,
because I completely agree.
Give us Dara thanks.
Please, God.
I'm telling you, Nia's coming back.
Ulti.
I don't really doubt it.
Ulti.
Yeah.
We will see Nia again. We will see Nia again.
I don't necessarily want it to happen, but I kind of expect it.
Please no. I like being nice. Let me stay.
So
nice,
yeah,
please.
leave your comments like down below, like what you think is going to happen with Nia, or what you think of what happened with Nia, and whatnot. You know, this is a really big deal for Ninjago. This is a historical moment, really, for the series and for like, I don't want to say for the Lego property because, you know, Motoro was very similar in Bionicle and whatnot.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
It's the same thing, but
the same thing without the potential for a return. Like Motoro just straight up, there was no bringing him back, period. bar
His
nothing.
body like evaporated.
Literally gone.
The difference between like Matoro and Nia is like they never really went back to the Mari after that. There's no
And then they
aftermath
went
for
to an
Matoro.
alternate universe where Motoro was left alive.
True.
And then they killed him again. He literally, they were like, "Hey, you remember Matoro? Did the BZ power signatures work out? Bye."
Well, I mean, I guess the one thing with Ninjago is that Neo was or is a protagonist. Like it's like killing off one of the main 6 Toa.
Matoro
Like,
was
Motoro is
Matoro
Well,
was a character from
that's
the
the-
very.
It's like
he was
killing
there
Wally.
from year
I
one.
get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
the Mari were of equal protagonistship with the first Toa. They had basically the same screen time.
Additionally,
Maybe like minus 1 year.
Additionally, Matoro was a character from 2001. He was a prominent character throughout the theme's existence. It would be like killing off... Oh, gosh. What's a good comparison
Will?
here? My gut was to say Little Nelson, but Matoro was much bigger than Little Nelson.
I mean, it's like
I mean,
it would be like
similar.
killing off Pixel.
Nia is similar in the way that
Nia's been there. She's one of the only characters that was there from
in the way
day
that
one.
she started as a regular girl and then became a samurai and then became a ninja. Matoro started as a Matoran
Yeah.
and then became a Toa later on. It's just because of how Bionicle handled screen time, you know.
Yeah.
It didn't really have the traditional main 6 characters.
time.
They changed them up every few years. So
Or
everybody
page
had
time.
also that.
Because screen time, Matora was very little,
Yeah, very basically nothing.
technically.
It's
Good
just
point.
kind of
But
like
page time, it was different.
You wish you had
if
books.
next season was just like the replacement ninja with the stars of the season. That's kind of how the Toro's death was. They just went straight to the Nuva instead of holding on to what the Mari had.
Yep.
We did
Point being,
revisit the
it's
Mari
good.
in snippets, but
Never
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but no, it was still
Anywho.
don't get me wrong, still a major impact.
Yeah, still a major impact. So I'm just curious to see like how it's gonna live up or how it's gonna hold up. So that's the big question. It's like the same thing we said at the end of the island. It all depends on the first episode of which I think the first episode of whatever happens next is gonna be.
I just constantly live in dread they will squander what they have built. But I will opt to trust. They will not.
So
It will be
anyhow,
good.
I wanted to get a little Bionicle in there since I said before the podcast and we didn't even mention it once. So
We were trying not to.
I know.
Trust
Well,
me, like we can talk a long time about that. It would actually be a really good. I mean, Haley, I know you and I have had a podcast about this on my show, but a NINJAGOcast would not be a bad place for a Bionicle and how Ninjago has grown.
Yeah, especially now.
Grown in
Yeah.
its stead.
Yeah.
So that'd be
So-
cool.
I mean, to be fair, you've got a year gap to fill, so
Yeah, we got a lot
Trust
to
me,
do.
I've been pushing for more. I think we could do a lot more.
I think we're gonna be doing NINJAGOcast a little bit more regularly.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Happy face.
there's gonna be one in September where we all point and laugh at Sakota.
Oh my god.
You'll see.
You'll see.
I gotta say,
He said energy wasn't an element.
I
doing NINJAGOcast more
If
regularly.
everyone would refer to page 21 of the Book of Elements.
Oh my god.
I love this rivalry.
Well, we'll continue this on the Elements NINJAGOcast. But speaking of doing more NINJAGOcast, one thing that is, the elephant in the room is we got new sets for this. The sets are finally out, and we didn't even talk about them for a second. And that's because stay tuned for NINJAGOcast in probably a week from today, and we will be talking about the new Seabound sets because we definitely have a lot to say about those too.
Yeah.
So, and that'll be a NINJAGOcast. So keep your eye out for that.
Happy face.
So, but all right. Well, do we want to do any
AJ,
plug?
thank you for joining us.
Thank you. For
I'm glad you like Seabound.
Me too.
Heck yeah. Happiness. All right.
Yes. Let's do some plugs and we can say fare thee well.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in joining more of the conversation, head on over to the TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. You need to be 13 years or older and reader rules. You'll have a good time. We do have a specific section for Ninjago discussion. Do not mistake it as a Bionicle-only place to be. By all means, join in, start some discussions about this franchise. It's a lot of fun. Then head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/thettvchannel, lowest $1 a month. And you can join our Patreon Discord server, as well as our Minecraft server on the islands of Motunui and Voyanui, with more to come. Finally, head on over to our Twitter at the TTV channel, as well as our respective individual ones.
I know Tyler just said this, but AJ, it has been an absolute honor. We had you the whole ride with the NINJAGOcast Reacts, and we were like, well, we got to pull you in for the discussion. I know you have a lot to say, so
I am glad you were here.
Mm-hmm. So,
super chats from Magic before we close.
Yeah, let me go track those down. Here we go. All right, Magic has 2 more super chats for $5 a piece. In regards to my statement of Kalmar being Archie, I was going off on how Kalmar wanted to awaken a primordial creature, Wojira, to raise the seas. And then Archie, the leader of Team Aqua, wanted to awaken the primordial Pokemon Kyogre to raise the seas, except Archie didn't get eaten by.
See, I completely forgot about that, and I even played those games. Well done, Matt. That was a good comparison. I mean, ancient sea creatures are like they're a commonality.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's like a lot of spillover in terms of like, controls the water, blah blah. But you're right, that is a comparison.
I don't understand this at all, and I'm not going to try.
It's Pokemans, bro.
I gathered.
I almost forgot one last thing for Seabound.
Go on.
Jay Vincent and Michael Kramer literally raised the bar again. The music was phenomenal.
Nia theme in so many cool variations.
Yeah, I rewatched the final fight earlier, and I don't know what the actual theme is there, but there's a really good one, and it's really good.
The way they speak the Skybound stuff.
It's excellent.
I don't know.
So I completely forgot to say that, but their music was so good, and I cannot wait till they release some of these tracks. Please.
And if you want to listen to more of the Ninjago soundtrack, head on over to the LEGO YouTube channel to check out A Musical Journey, parts 1 through 4, edited by Haley Wolf.
Hey, I know that person.
Getting the respect.
And if you also want to watch something else Ninjago related, you can head over to the Ninjago documentary and watch the Ninjago documentary.
Also,
created and edited by Haley Wolf.
You'll love to see it.
What even is my life these days?
It's what it has been.
I'm practically married to a computer.
It is what it has been for a while now. Ninjago.
Yeah, this isn't new.
Yeah, it's not new. But then it's amazing to
Haley
be
gave
able to
herself
witness and read
to
this. Yeah,
Ninjago.
I opened myself up to Ninjago. I opened myself up to Ninjago. Normal?
She was never the same again.
It's like, we need to get you back to normal, Haley. Normal?
Yeah, Sony Vegas.
So, anyhow, well, thank you all so much for joining today. We had a blast. We somehow managed to do this without crying, but I can tell you that rewatching the last 4 episodes will make me cry again and again. Most likely.
I didn't cry, but I was moved. It felt very good. It was emotional.
A little bit to the left or right?
A little bit down the middle.
You can see me in the reacts. I am a brick.
I was more in shock that it was happening. I was just waiting to have the rug pulled out from under me.
I mean,
but I've just kicked the can down the road. Now I'm waiting to have the rug pulled out next season.
My expression was priceless.
Ulti had the best facial expressions.
Yeah. You and your singular avatar of the one color we like to make you believe is yellow.
Excuse me?
Anyway,
All right,
Sensei
I'll
Wolf,
cue the
let's go ahead and
music.
wrap this up.
Wait, hang on.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining us for Ninjago Cast. We hope to see you next time when we are probably either going to be discussing the sets of Seabound instead of the story of Seabound. So thank you very much for joining. I've been Sensei Wolf.
I'm LJ.